CFAX Victoria,
an iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, Vancouver Island. It's 6 o'clock, Monday, July the 20th. Steve in for Ryan for one more week. A hazy, humid day ahead. Time for CFAX 1070 News. Here's Lisa Best.
Thanks, Stephen. Good morning. Our top story again, BC wildfires. We are almost double at the wildfire number in BC that we were on Friday. 51 active wildfires on Friday has jumped to 102 this morning. 40 are considered burning out of control. We have 12 new starts in the last 24 hours, including one fire that's being held west of Campbell River. There's one slightly north of that. That is considered out of control. Make that under control. BC Wildfire Service says the coming week will see a higher risk of wildfires sparked by lightning, even as wildfire officials have downgraded a fire near Pemberton and lifted the evacuation alerts linked to it. The agency said in its latest update yesterday that the widespread thunder activity is forecast, raising the risk of more lightning strikes. It says the warm, dry conditions are expected to persist throughout the coming week, expanding further north and west across the province. Environment Canada says BCers should also brace themselves for some air quality diminishing in the coming days, as wildfire smoke is expected to cause poorer air quality and visibility across a lot of regions of the province over the next 24 to 48 hours. We'll keep you abreast of any changes with the air quality here on Vancouver Island as we move forward through the week. Meanwhile, out east, the wildfire situation in northern Ontario and across Canada remains pretty much the same this morning. Nearly 200 fires burning in that province, close to 1,000 across the country. CTV's Heather Wright has more on what the Prime Minister is calling one of the most intense fire seasons in Canadian history.
10 communities in northwestern Ontario have already been evacuated, with many more being told to prepare to leave should things get worse. Prime Minister Mark Carney said in a statement, Canada is taking an all-hands-on-deck approach. More than 5,300 firefighting personnel have been deployed across the country. Nearly 300 aircraft are in the field, from water bombers and helicopters to evacuation aircraft. Experts say so many of the fires burning are simply impossible to fight.
And these are high-intensity fires, and you cannot put people in front of them because it's too dangerous. You have to get out of the way and wait for the weather to change.
Meanwhile, the U.S. president adding fuel to the wildfire situation in this country, piling on the complaints already made by some American representatives and how the smoke from our fires has been impacting their community. After watching yesterday's World Cup final in New Jersey alongside the Prime Minister, Trump was asked about his conversation with Carney and whether the topics of the fires came up when he was speaking with reporters after the game at Joint Base Andrews.
I told him, you got to stop these fires from coming in and, poisoning our air. Our air has been poisoned. I have a good relationship with Mark Carney, but, we got to stop the fires up there. If we can help them, we'll help them. But maybe they should pay us some damages or something, or we should do some tariffs.
Donald Trump is not the only U.S. officials who mentioned Canada should be facing possible sanctions and pay for the wildfire smoke. The suggestions, which has already been brushed off by Mark Carney, Ontario Premier Doug Ford had some pretty strong words about it as well. 2 Canadian startups have launched new social media platforms with a patriotic twist.
The founders of A and Gander were inspired to create alternatives to American social media platforms by U.S. President Donald Trump's threats to make Canada the 51st state. A and Gander both let people post musings, news links, photos, and short videos. They each have about 30,000 users, though they don't expect to overtake incumbent platforms like TikTok or Instagram. Toronto Metropolitan University professor Richard Latchman says the startups face an uphill battle against established platforms, which are well-funded and have bigger audiences than Canada's small market. Michelle Zedekian, The Canadian Press.
Stats Canada saying the annual rate of inflation eased to 2.8% in June from 3.2% in May, thanks mostly to lower gas prices. So that's something that's new that's come out this morning. This is a smaller financial startup, increasingly broadens their product offerings. It might be tempting to make you want to switch from your big bank, but everyday banking expert Natasha McMillan warns people not to jump ship without first considering what matters most to them.
Is it that you want to minimize your monthly fees? Is it maximizing your saving rate? Is it accessing branches and going in person to a brick and mortars? Is it earning rewards? Some of that will help them make their decisions.
McMillan says it's important to research and compare products across financial situations when considering a switch, such as fees on transactions and ATM withdrawals. That's your news to 6:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question. We're asking you, have you ever had a close encounter with a wild animal? 66%, two-thirds say yes. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com, also on the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa, best your news time, 6:06.
Thank you, Lisa. Weather forecast for Greater Victoria. Mix of sun and cloud today. Hazy late this afternoon. High near 25. It's going to be about 18 where the winds blow on shore. Humid's going to make it feel like 30, though, and the UV index up there at 8 or very high. Partly cloudy tonight. Hazy this evening with a low near 14. Mainly sunny tomorrow. Hazy in the morning and early in the afternoon with a high near 25. The outlook for Wednesday, sunny with a high near 25. Right now in downtown Victoria, it's 13 degrees. Here's your final World Cup update.
This is your TSN Radio FIFA World Cup 2026 update.
I'm John Rodenberg. In the World Cup final, Spain dominated but needed a goal in overtime to finally vanquish Lionel Messi and Argentina 1-0. Ferran Torres, a second-half substitute, provided the heroics in the 106th minute.
At last! At long last! Spain's magic moment!
It came with Argentina down a man after Enzo Gonzalez was banished from the game after receiving a second yellow in the 94th minute. Spain outshot Argentina 20-2 and had all 12 shots that ended on net in winning its second World Cup in its history. Spain allowing just one goal in the 8 games it played in the tournament. Kylian Mbappe of France won the Golden Boot Award with 10 goals. You can watch the FIFA World Cup matches on TSN, CTV, Crave, and streaming at tsn.ca. Listen on the TSN Radio Network with all games streaming on the iHeart Radio app.
Some local sports. West Shore Rebels kicked off the 2026 season at home on the weekend with a 27-1 win over the Valley Huskers. The Junior A Shamrocks split the first 2 games of their first-round playoff matchup against Port Coquitlam, winning 11-9 on Saturday and dropping a 10-7 decision yesterday. Game 3 goes tomorrow in Poco. And the Victoria Harbour Cats lost the rubber match of their 3-game series with Wenatchee, 3-1 yesterday. They're in Nanaimo for a 3-game set starting on Tuesday. Brian and Lisa mornings on CFAX 1070 are brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Their buy one, get one free event is on now. Stock up on some of the items your family enjoys the most. See their flyer for details. Well, I don't see anything out there on the highways and byways so far, but it is early. Everything is green and go. Meanwhile, at the ferry terminal, the next available sailing is at 7 o'clock. It has 36% available deck space and no delays on early morning departures out of Victoria International Airport today. Here's your consumer and business news.
Verizon says it's selling hundreds of its retail locations. The U.S. carrier says 274 company-owned stores will be up for sale as part of its restructuring, and about 500 corporate jobs will be cut. Verizon will still own about 1,000 stores after the sale, which goes into effect August 16th. Netflix says profits grew in the second quarter after new membership signups and price increases. Share prices still fell more than 7% in after-hours trading because the company's forecast fell below market expectations. The streaming service said Thursday it's projecting 12% revenue growth for this quarter compared with analyst projections of 13%. And a major chip maker is shelling out more money to the U.S. Wendy Swanson with more.
Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company announced it will invest another $100 billion to expand their footprint in Arizona. That brings the company's total investment in the Grand Canyon state to $265 billion. TSMC currently has a campus in North Phoenix, and the funds could result in 4 new semiconductor plants. The chip maker develops processors for tech giants like NVIDIA and Apple.
And Uber is formally agreeing to acquire Delivery Hero for $14.8 billion. If the all-stock deal is completed, it'll open up almost 100 new markets in Europe, Latin America, Asia, and the Middle East. If the deal succeeds, Uber will basically double its footprint for delivery services and ride-hailing. And first-time requests for unemployment benefits experienced a big drop last week. Matt Mattinson reports.
The Labor Department says it received 208,000 initial filings in the week ending July 11th. That's 8,000 less than the week prior. Majority of analysts believed today's number would come in right around 218,000.
And a bill moving through Congress could eventually change the look of the U.S. nickel. The House has passed the Common Sense Act, which would end production of the penny and allow the Treasury Department to test a redesigned nickel that's cheaper to make. I'm Monica Nelson with your consumer and business news.
Let's get started.
Start your day informed and entertained. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
6:12 here at CFAX 1070. Steve in for Ryan with Lisa as per usual. Did you have a good weekend?
I had a fantastic weekend, thank you. The weather was perfect, absolutely perfect.
It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Not too hot, comfortable.
What'd you do?
I taught people to keep the shiny side up.
Okay, that's a good thing to do.
I had a good crew. I actually had a police officer with us this time around, learning how to ride, and I had 3 Navy officials who were absolutely hilarious to have on course. It was a joy to have them there.
Nice.
So, yeah, and everybody did very well. So, good for you. Get out on the motorcycle and be safe.
Okay. I'd like to congratulate Spain.
Yeah, well, they're that too, right?
Salute.
I was downtown Victoria yesterday afternoon. I couldn't believe how electrified the city was. It was like the game was happening here.
It was the same thing in Langford. I went to I planned my day accordingly.
Okay, what does that mean?
That means I went and got my food to watch the game at around 11:30.
Priorities. What am I going to eat for the game?
It's very important. It's got to be strategic. And I had points accumulated for a certain dish.
Okay.
So I got it for free.
At a certain, wow, look at you playing it well.
Yeah.
You're funny. You're like, what am I going to eat? What's my plans for the food? And as a woman, I think, what am I going to wear to that event? You're gonna the difference between men and women. What am I going to eat when I get there? Women are like, what shoes should I wear with this?
It's just as well you didn't see what I was wearing for the event.
Okay. It was a home show.
Yes, it was.
That's fair.
And
hey,
I was very comfortable.
You do you. Well, see, that's important. Sunday afternoon and watching the game, who cares?
Exactly. Spain dominated, like the whole game.
Were you expecting that?
Well, again, Steve doesn't usually gloat, but I'm going to gloat again. Yes, He predicted after the Rod and Robin on this particular radio station on two different programs.
Yes,
First,
I remember.
With Ryan and Lisa, but also with Josh and Jade, that Spain looked the best of any team in the tournament.
That's true. You did say that a few times.
Yeah.
So you feel some vindication there? Like, hey, look what I did.
There was one thing I would have loved to have seen that I didn't see yesterday.
What was that?
I would have loved that the Prime Minister of Spain had been there.
But why wasn't Prime Minister of Spain there? Why wasn't the leader of that?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I would have loved to see the U.S. president have to present directly to the Prime Minister of Spain the trophy after what they've said about each other. I think that would have been highly entertaining.
Yeah, there was some pretty serious barbs.
Yes.
Why was he standing in the photo, it seems? Is that just me, or was that a bit of a photo bomb?
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of weird stuff going on.
Oh, it's politics, and everybody wants to be on the winning team. So, maybe we're talking to Spain again.
And they were trying to kind of shoo him off the edge of the stage when they were taking the team picture at the end.
Well, that's what I mean. Maybe didn't understand the task at hand.
Yeah, there's some stuff there that's kind of creepy. Let's be honest.
It's just wrong to try to steal the thunder. But I don't necessarily think that was happening. It's just, maybe he didn't realize he had to get off the stage.
No, you don't understand, sir. You're from a different country,
right?
And you weren't on the team.
This isn't your party. Oh well, this too shall pass, I suppose.
We hope.
Yeah, I'm hoping. With that, we've got our own thing to deal with the smoke.
That's the other thing I spent time on this weekend that I probably shouldn't have done. So I'm going to make a confession later on in the program about.
Why wait? We're all ears now.
Well,
is it too soon?
Actually, let's do the headlines and then I'll get to that because that's a good 6:20 thing.
Okay.
Here's Lisa with your news headlines.
Stats Canada says the annual rate of inflation easing to 2.8% in June from 3.2% in May, thanks mostly to lower gas prices. I haven't noticed that. Have you noticed that? No lower gas prices. But anyways, that's what Stats Canada is saying. BC clocked in at 2.8%, down slightly from 2.9% in May. Stats Canada also releasing the initial rates for major cities. Victoria, 2.9%, down from 3.3%, and Vancouver was 3%, up from 2.8%. The Bank of Canada warned last week that the outlook for inflation still remains murky, thanks largely in part to the uncertainty over the Middle East conflict. The United States today conducting a new round of airstrikes targeting Iran after announcing the death of a 17th American service member. The strikes hit around the northwestern Iranian city believed to be home to an underground missile base. Iran responded by launching attacks on nearby Kuwait and Bahrain, the home of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet. The U.S. and Iran have inched closer to all-out war as an interim deal died last month meant to end the fighting, and shipping traffic in the Strait of Hormuz remains largely stalled. And Andy Burnham has been appointed Britain's new Prime Minister after meeting with King Charles this morning at Buckingham Palace. The King has asked him to form a government after Keir Starmer formally resigned after pressure from his Labour Party. Burnham now becomes the 7th UK Prime Minister in 10 years. Hopefully he can hold on to the position. And that is your news to 6:18.
For a comfortable home, no matter what the season, and big savings on your heating bill, talk to Coastal Heat Pumps. Designed for comfort, the South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. Checking your traffic situation, I see no delays, and I'm expecting later than usual volume again today. A lot of people taking a long weekend at the ferry terminal. The next available sailings at 7 o'clock this morning, and it has 34% available deck space.
It's all here. News, weather, traffic, and community events. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
First of all, did you feel anything this morning?
Oh, you're going to tell me you had a shaker and I didn't feel it?
That's correct.
I'm embarrassed.
Okay.
Nope.
5.6 this one.
Oh, that's pretty solid. Okay.
208 kilometers southwest of Fort McNeil.
That's why we didn't feel it.
Well,
Okay.
it's
Well,
probably...
wait a minute. Southwest. That's not that far away.
No, it isn't. It's kind of... I looked at the map. It's almost even with... no, I was going to say it's even with Tofino, but it's not really.
Okay. But it's sort of upper mid-island, sort of?
Yes,
Does that make sense?
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Wow. What time?
About 1 o'clock this morning.
Oh, that's why I didn't feel it.
So if you woke up at 1 o'clock this morning and said, why did I wake up at 1 o'clock this morning? It might have been the earthquake.
Yeah, let us know if you felt it.
Yes.
Depending where you're at.
Yes. So
I sometimes mistake them for large trucks going by.
Right. Magnitude 5.6, 10 kilometers depth.
Okay.
But it's very close. Remember the one last week?
Yeah.
It's pretty close to that one.
Well, it's all in the same region, right?
Yeah.
They tend to cluster because that's where the fault is in that region. So,
They say no tsunami warning is necessary.
okay, good. We don't want one today.
So I must admit that this whole wildfire thing, Ontario, Michigan, has got me upset.
Yes. I think it's disconcerting at the surface, upset underneath. Yes, it's why. Okay, go ahead.
I think in this case, it's partially because I felt an affinity for Michigan. Growing up in southwestern Ontario.
Okay, so your neighbors, yeah.
Yeah. And, I remember when I was a kid, like 8 or 9 years old, going to Pinery Park, and the neighbors were there for the week, and they were from Michigan, and I went out in their motorhome and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the guy taught me all about the Beach Boys and played Beach Boys music all over it. Like there was some.
You remember all this? Okay.
I remember all this.
Fond memories.
My first Major League Baseball game was at Tiger Stadium because there was no Blue Jays back then.
Right.
So Michigan and Trumbull meant the world to me.
Okay.
And Ernie and Paul doing Tigers games on the radio is the way I went to sleep at night. So I guess I have a different relationship with Michigan than any other state in the United States.
Yeah, because you consider them close neighbors.
And I've always felt like they were a lot like us. Like that that was just a line in the sand for geographical purposes. One country starts here, one starts here.
Right.
I actually believe that. I went to Michigan International Speedway way too many times over the years because that was the closest NASCAR track. Like it enveloped so many parts of my life, Michigan going hand in hand, Red Wings games, because you couldn't get Leaf tickets back then, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
So to see Michiganders attacking us over wildfire smoke?
Okay. So did the whole state attack you?
Well,
because you know how it works.
Well, I do, because one of the things I looked up first to try and understand better was when the next big day is on the calendar, election-wise, in Michigan. Care to guess?
Soonish?
The primaries are August the 4th.
Yeah. Okay. So then backtrack and explain why what happened starting Friday and through the weekend happened.
So, Let's get people on an issue that's affecting them right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not care about the peripheral damage or anything like that. Let's just throw accusations out there and the truth be damned, because we wouldn't want to tell the truth about why, what a boreal forest is, or how, if every Canadian got a rake like they keep on suggesting, it would take us about 100 years with everybody to rake the boreal forest.
Okay, so but just to preface it, if you're just tuning into what this is about, the U.S. is accusing us of not dealing with our fire situation. As a result, they have wildfire smoke filtering across the border. So our wildfire smoke is invading the U.S. in the most organic of fashions possible. We're invading the U.S., and so that has politicians, quite a few, up in arms about why we can't make our own bed, basically.
Yeah. So, in any event, I find it very frustrating.
We all do. We all do, because I think Doug Ford put it aptly, the Premier of Ontario put it aptly on Friday. He said they need to look at a map more often before you start pointing fingers, because Ontario alone is 2 Texases. It's a vast, vast tract of land with a lot of wilderness. And you and I both know, anybody who's been up north, the scrub brush burns so well. That's why the northern fires are so difficult to put out, because the fires actually burrow underground. They essentially go on the ground cover, and it's so hard to get them out. So they end up burning throughout the year. We have those in northern BC as well. Very difficult to access and very difficult to control. But you need to know this rather than just picking up the mic and spouting off about it. And unfortunately, it's just added more fuel to the fire in doing this, because as Canadians, we're just frustrated. And you have to keep in mind, it is not the average American that is making this statement. Maybe some believe it, but we have fires, smoke from fires that come up from Washington State, from Oregon, from across the Northwest U.S. all the time. In fact, we're bracing for the possibility of our air quality diminishing this week because of fires. So wildfire smoke doesn't know borders. There's no fence to keep it out. And it's kind of ludicrous to say that we're not managing things when we look at the Palisades situation, which was a large urban center where the water had been turned off and fire crews couldn't get water to the fires. And luxury homes burnt basically in the middle of a major urban center. So if we can't control it, we can't control it no matter where it is. And it's just, finger pointing is so easy, especially when you're trying to get a vote. And as you called it, in early August, there's a vote being cast, right? So
yeah. And yeah.
But I think the people, like you say, you have friends and you have fond memories of Michigan. That goes both ways. That's a two-way street. I know I have friends from Pennsylvania who are fishing in Ontario right now and northern Quebec. They love it up there. They love to visit. They love the camaraderie. So the average American, the average Canadian, I don't think they think this way. I think it's all hands on deck trying to get those fires out.
Yeah, agreed. It's just frustrating.
Maybe get the politicians on the front line.
Yeah.
Put an axe in their hand and a fire hose.
True enough. But it does give us one opportunity, is to once again salute our wildland firefighters.
100%. That work,
yeah,
grunt labor.
Yeah, and, you know, I've seen the training they have to go through and everything else. There is a level of dedication that far exceeds the cash in return.
Yeah. Zero luxury to that job.
Yes. 6:29, I should say. Lisa's going to be back shortly with your 6:30 newscast.
Show with Tony Joe.
Everyone wants to know about real estate. Is the market going up or down? Time to buy or sell? How can government programs and policies affect you? Hear from local experts on topics like appraisal, inspection, investment, and others on how to maximize your real estate sale.
Providing info on everything you needed to know about real estate. The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe. Saturdays at noon on CFAX 1070. CFAX Victoria.
An iHeartRadio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
6:31, Monday, July the 20th. Steve in for Ryan. Hazy, humid day ahead, high around 25. It's going to feel like 30, though. Time for CFAX 1070 News. Here's Lisa Best.
Talking money first, Stats Canada says the annual rate of inflation eased to 2.8% in the month of June from 3.2% in May, thanks mostly to lower gas prices. I don't know if you really felt the dent, but apparently they were lower. BC clocked in at 2.8%, down slightly from 2.9% in May. Stats Canada also releasing the initial rates for major cities. Victoria at 2.9%, Vancouver at 3%. The Bank of Canada warned last week that the outlook for inflation is still murky, thanks largely in part to the uncertainty over the Middle East conflict. Close to 1,000 wildfires burning across Canada this morning. More than 200 are in Ontario alone. Northern Ontario communities are preparing for further evacuations today. On the BC wildfire front, we have 102 active wildfires. That's exactly double, actually, from what we had Friday. We had 51 Friday. 40 are considered out of control this morning. 12 new starts in the last day, including a fire that's currently being held west of Campbell River. That's one of two fires here on Vancouver Island. The other is slightly further north of that, and that is considered under control. The BC Wildfire Service says the coming week will see a higher risk of fires sparked by lightning, even as officials downgrade that fire near Pemberton and lifted evacuation alerts in that community and elsewhere. And Environment Canada is also telling us that we may have to brace for poor air quality in the coming days.
An air quality warning says wildfire smoke is causing or expected to cause poor air quality and reduced visibility across multiple regions in the province on Monday and Tuesday. That includes the Fraser Canyon, the South Thompson, the northeastern corner of the province, with the alert area almost reaching Prince George. More than 100 wildfires continue to burn in the province, and the latest provincial situation report says dry and warm conditions will elevate the potential for new wildfire starts. Naira Ahmed, The Canadian Press.
The U.S. president adding fuel to that fire, suggesting Canada should pay some damages or tariffs for the impacts our wildfire smoke is having on U.S. communities along the border and beyond. He made the comments at Joint Base Andrews last night after having sat beside the Prime Minister at the World Cup final game in New Jersey.
It was terrible. I mean, you had businesses closing. I've never remembered this happening. Over the last 4 or 5 years, you saw it starting to take place.
Donald Trump says he and Mark Carney have a good relationship and even offered American assistance in the fires, but ultimately vowed the situation needs to be brought under control. The BC entrepreneur behind a new Canadian social media platform says Donald Trump provided the inspiration to start that's EH. Jessica Glowacki says the American president's threats towards Canada was a call for action.
It was really the 51st state comment that kind of spurred this on, and just, the reliance on U.S. platforms really, how their culture shifts really impacts how we see social media. And, it's really important for me to protect our culture.
Glowacki's platform currently has 31,000 users who've been sharing news, photos, and other musings since last August. The latest vessel to be struck while trying to navigate the Strait of Hormuz was attacked this morning. A UK maritime agency offered that information. ABC News chief global anchor Martha Raddatz is in Jordan with the latest.
This nearly 5-month-long war, which began with the U.S. and Israel launching strikes on Iran, appears to have once again brought traffic through the critical Strait of Hormuz to a crawl. Market data shows only 8 vessels navigated the strait on Friday, although Energy Secretary Chris Wright is disputing that.
Almost all the public data I've seen is incorrect. There's flow through 2 routes through the Strait of Hormuz.
The renewed findings spiking the cost of oil and gas. A gallon of gas now $4.
The U.S., of course, our prices are still staying pat, but elevated nonetheless. That's your news at 6:35. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. We're asking, have you ever had a close encounter with a wild animal? Running with a deer, perhaps? 66% say yes. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com. Also on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news time, 6:37.
Thank you, Lisa. The weather forecast for Greater Victoria: mix of sun and cloud today. Hazy late this afternoon, a high near 25. 18 where the winds blow onshore. Humidex going to make it feel like 30. Partly cloudy tonight, hazy this evening with a low near 14. Mainly sunny tomorrow, hazy in the morning and early in the afternoon with a high near 25. The outlook for Wednesday, sunny with a high near 25. Right now in downtown Victoria, 13 degrees. Checking your Monday morning sports. Spain not only looked like the best team in the World Cup, they also proved it, totally shutting down Argentina for a 1-0 victory in the final, the winner coming in extra time. Former Canadian Open champion and Kiwi Ryan Fox made a birdie on the last hole to win the British Open at Royal Birkdale. CFL Sunday night game, Winnipeg came from behind, upend Ottawa 36-34 in overtime. Looks like Victoria-born Lions quarterback Nathan Rourke won't be available for this week's game against the Argos due to a banged-up shoulder. West Shore Rebels kicked off the 2026 season at home on the weekend with a 27-1 win over the Valley Huskers. Victoria Junior A Shamrocks split the first two games of their first-round playoff matchup against Port Coquitlam, winning 11-9 on Saturday, dropping a 10-7 decision yesterday. Harbour Cats lost the rubber match to their three-game series with Wenatchee yesterday 3-1. They're in Nanaimo for a three-game set starting on Tuesday. And the Blue Jays' struggles continue. They were blanked 3-0 by the White Sox. The Mariners doubled San Francisco 6-3. For a comfortable home, no matter what the season, and big savings on your heating bill, talk to Coastal Heat Pumps. Designed for comfort, the South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. Traffic starting to pick up just a little bit on the Trans-Canada Highway in particular. As you go through the View Royal area, it's nothing serious, no red zones, just getting a little slower than it was about half an hour ago. No other delays to speak of at the ferry terminal. The next available sailing at 7 o'clock still has 34% available vehicle space. The ones that are a little more tight are the noon and 1 o'clock sailings, both with just 9% available as of now. Here's what happened in the business world on Friday.
Toronto's S&P TSX Composite Index lost 76 points to close out on Friday. In New York, the Dow Jones Industrial Average tumbled 406 points, and the Nasdaq Composite Index dropped 361 points. Japanese markets were closed today for a national holiday, but the Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong gained 580 points. Our dollar is trading overseas this morning at 71.30 cents US, compared with 71.36 cents on Friday. 2 Canadian startups have launched patriotic social media platforms as alternatives to major American-owned networks. Both platforms allow users to share posts, news links, photos, and short videos, and each has attracted about 30,000 users. Statistics Canada is expected to release June inflation data this morning, with economists forecasting the annual rate fell to 2.9% from 3.2% in May. And Rogers Communications is set to release its second quarter financial results on Wednesday morning. The report will offer investors a fresh look at the company's recent performance and outlook. From the Canadian Press Business Desk, I'm David Augustine.
Don't attempt your morning commute without us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
When was the last time you had a lollipop?
Oh, in its current old-fashioned form, quite a while.
Okay. Well, you know what it is today? It's National Lollipop Day.
Shocker.
In 1908, candy maker George Smith created the lollipop. It came out of poking candy in a vat with a stick, which he then gave to his kids as a treat. And he named it after his favorite racehorse, Lollipop. And Americans eat them up, literally, spending nearly $8 billion per year on them. Cherry by far the #1 flavor, and a poll from Study Find says adults eat more lollipops than kids. I'm Bree Tennis.
Is a caramel considered a deconstructed lollipop? There's no stick involved?
Interesting thought.
Yeah,
I'm going to say no.
Things to mute. Okay.
I'm going to say the stick is key. I'm going to make that ruling.
When's the last time you had one?
Actually, I think it was about 2 months ago.
Oh, really?
Jolly Rancher
makes a lollipop?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
And it's a sour and it's a green apple. Mm-hmm. And I want to say superb.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
So I know we're getting closer to Halloween. I'm just putting that out there as an idea
it's
for
July.
you.
Closer to Halloween. Oh, and kids,
have you
school's
not
about to start.
Have you not seen
no,
the Halloween
is it out already?
Yes, it is.
That's just kind of rude. Mind you, it's good portion control, right? It's all about portion control.
It is.
Well, don't eat the whole bag. Just have 1 or 2.
So, yes.
I'm like that with ice cream, so I can't have it in the house.
Ice
cream and I, we get along way too well.
I did celebrate Ice Cream Day yesterday.
I did too.
As part of the World Cup food preparation. I went with the cherry cheesecake.
Ice cream?
Yes.
Oh, it's pretty extravagant.
Yes, it was.
I just had a Dairy Queen. I wanted to go somewhere else, but the lineups were too long, and I'm not going to say where because it's a highly popular place locally, but I just went the low-hanging fruit. Because have you seen the forecast this week? Because if the National Ice Cream Day was on Sunday, it's like they knew to bring that in to herald this week because of the temperatures we're about to have.
Yeah, I think
it's 27 all midweek.
Yeah, I think we should have had this. Should have been Slurpee week.
Well, you can make that too.
Yeah, have a little brain freeze midway through your day. You know the one that everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, oh yeah, because we feel the headache as soon as you say that.
Exactly.
Everyone has a trigger. Interesting.
But yes, so yeah, Lollipop Day, Ice Cream Day. I'm seeing a trend here towards the sugar industry as a whole.
Well, because I don't know. It seems to be, that and Christmas or the holidays seem to be the time when you indulge the most. But yes, I'm 100% behind you for the sugar. It's just been a long time. We have that old-fashioned shop downtown. We have a couple of them. We have O Sugar, and we have one on Government that serves all the old candies that we used to have as kids.
Can I say that this city punches well above its weight when it comes to candy shops?
Agreed. I would have to agree with that. We have tourists coming into town too, so they they want to have take treats back to their people, and that's a great one. So, yeah, hopefully they're doing hop-in business, because we have Favre's downtown too. And if you ever had that's going to change your life. If you never had that, you must have it.
Well,
it is ice cream on steroids.
I would just point out that there's the candy shops downtown have an excellent sense of what we used to have as kids.
Yes.
And have brought that back.
Well, stuff is still available. It's just not in wide circulation.
Exactly. And it's just nice to see it there.
Or they dusted it off.
It's just like, well, I know we're not supposed to say stuff like Popeye cigarettes, but Popeye cigarettes, for instance.
Candy, yeah. No,
we're not allowed to call them cigarettes anymore, but they're Popeye cigarettes.
Well, it's not a swear word, but it's just... It was the gateway to kids having a cigarette.
Yeah.
The gateway candy.
Anyway.
We digress.
6:46, Lisa with your news headlines.
The latest weekly federal tracker from Liaison Strategy shows the Liberal Party, led by the Prime Minister Mark Carney, holds an 8% lead over Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives. Among decided and leading voters, the Liberals stand at 43%, followed by the Conservatives at 35%, the NDP at 12%, the Bloc Québécois at 6%, and the Green Party trailing at just 2%. Among all voters, the Liberals are at 37%, the Conservatives at 30%. Liaison surveyed a random sample of over 1,500 Canadians between July 5th and July 18th. Now, Mark Carney's approval is 57%, with 35% disapproving and 8% not sure. Pierre Poilievre's numbers have moved the wrong way since last week's improvement. 36% have a favorable view of the Conservative leader, and 50% have an unfavorable view. Babcock Canada could extend its service contract for the Royal Canadian Navy's Victory-class submarines through the fleet's end of life. The federal government was awarded Babcock Canada a 6-year extension on a $1.1 billion servicing contract, which includes options to service until the Navy transitions to new subs. Canada's fleet of 4 Victoria submarines is expected to be retired in the mid-2030s, so we're less than 10 years away from that. And the Trump administration has identified 2 soldiers killed in action last week as part of the U.S. war with Iran. The Defense Department said this morning that a 25-year-old and a 19-year-old were killed in Jordan. They were supporting an American mission against the Islamic State. The U.S. Central Command said that the 2 service members were killed while defending against Iranian ballistic missiles and drones. The U.S. has conducted more airstrikes targeting Iran overnight, announcing the death of another service member, the 17th lost in the 5-month-long conflict, which was initially supposed to last for 4 weeks. That's your news to 6:48.
Checking your traffic situation at this hour. The Trans-Canada, a little slow now, basically from Thetis Lake Park right through until the end of the construction zone. There's a little gap in there by the hospital where things speed back up again, then it slows down once you get past Helmgen. At the airport, everything is on time so far this morning. At the ferry terminal, the next available sailing coming up at 7 o'clock still has 29%. If you make a beeline, you might make it.
Thanks for starting your day with us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Speaking of Victoria Airport, something adjacent to it is continuing to expand and get more exciting all the time. Lots happening at the BC Aviation Museum right now, including an upcoming visit from the Snowbirds during their open house on August the 3rd. That's one day before the team is expected to perform over the Victoria waterfront. Museum President Steve Hale is back joining us, catching us up on what's going on up there. Good morning, Steve. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks. Morning, Steve.
Great name, by the way. Let's start with the open house coming up on August 3rd. Tell us about the event.
Well, we've got, in the last couple of years, we've decided to go for a 2-day open house. So it'll be the 2nd and the 3rd on the holiday weekend. So it'll be a Sunday and a Monday. We've had to go for 2 days because it's blockbuster. We're getting so many people out. We just want to make sure that we can support the entire community and everybody gets a chance to see all the great exhibits that we can offer at the museum.
So which visiting aircraft are coming in? Tell us about who's going to be there.
Well, of course, on the 2nd, on the Sunday, we've got a DC-3 coming in. It's commemorating its 90th anniversary, so it's been flying for 90 years, this aircraft. It'll come in and land, and we'll have it on display. We also have aircraft from 443 Helicopter Squadron. We've got lots of private aircraft coming in. And, of course, on the 3rd is the big absolutely unbelievable situation of having the Snowbirds arrive. I can't talk enough about that with all of what's happening with the Snowbirds in the news. We are just absolutely over the top to have the opportunity to support and to welcome these guys to the museum.
Now, they're going to actually even do an autograph session, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So around noon on Monday the 3rd, they're going to overfly the open house. So lots of noise, lots of clamor, and lots of excitement. Then they're going to land their aircraft, and they're going to come over to the museum to be signing autographs for about an hour and a half before we have a commemoration ceremony where we're going to unveil our personal tutor that we were given by the government, painted in its original colors from 1971.
Oh, beautiful. That's got to be a labor of love.
Oh, absolutely. We've had tremendous support from the local community. In fact, one of our local friends at BMT group of companies at the airport, they're actually doing the painting for us. And not only will we have the aircraft there, we're going to actually have the very first Snowbird lead from 1971, Major General Glenn Younghusband. He's over 90 years of age. I'm not giving his complete actual age because that's confidential, but he's over 90, and he'll be there for this ceremony. Also, the fellow that led the Snowbirds right after him, George Miller, in 1973, he'll be there as well. Plus, the whole Snowbird team will be there for this commemoration. And all kinds of VIPs. We've invited a whole host of local mayors, our Member of Parliament, Elizabeth May. We've had all sorts of interest in this because I hate to say this, folks, it's possibly the last time you'll ever see a Snowbird aircraft.
True story.
Yeah, August 4th is their flyover, is that correct?
Yes, at about 5 p.m. On downtown, in the downtown area, Dallas Road in particular, they're going to do what they call a high show. So they stay a little higher than they would at an airfield for obvious reasons. And that'll be it for Victoria, folks. You'll never see the Snowbirds again if things continue on their current trajectory.
This is really quite emotional, is it not? I mean, I'm feeling this because I grew up in a military family, and we're passing the baton, but we don't know to who yet. And I grew up with the snowbirds in the sky, and for me, it's just pure Canadiana. And for this all to come together so well.
Yeah, I found it, well, one of the reasons I got into the military was when I lived in Kingston. I saw the Golden Centenaires in 1967 fly over. And weirdly enough, again, close to my heart is this aircraft we're unveiling, the very first Snowbird aircraft. I actually flew it twice.
Really?
Wow. Steve, you've been holding out on us on this information.
Bit of a sleeper here.
Well, as the president of the museum, I'm reminded frequently that I have to take on a bit of a humble role, but okay, it's out. Yes, I flew this aircraft twice.
So tell us about that. What do you remember?
Well, I was a student in Moose Jaw, and weirdly enough, I actually didn't know that this was such a famous aircraft when I flew it. It was a training mission both times, and we just hopped in it. I flew it from Moose Jaw to Sault Ste. Marie, and then from Sault Ste. Marie to Ottawa, and then back. So it was just a wonderful experience, the whole pilot training, and an amazing aircraft. This airplane is just the sort of thing that everybody should have in their backyard. It's, it's so much fun to fly, so safe. Obviously a little bit dated now, but just an absolute joy to fly.
Wow. Well, Steve, you've kind of taken Lisa and I's breath away, correct?
Yes. We had no idea that was your history. It was probably good that at the time that you didn't know what you were flying, because it would cut down on the nerves, right? Would you have been more nervous?
Oh, absolutely. I'm very, very big on the preservation of historical aircraft in particular, and historical artifacts. We now have this at the museum, and it's our intention to have our great-great-great-grandchildren be able to come and have a look at this airplane and enjoy it just as we are today.
That's actually a really nice sentiment, Steve. Once again, if people want more information about the open house and what's coming up, where can they get it?
Okay, on our website, we have that. We're posting posters all over town. There's something for everybody at the open house. We've got 2 simulators now up and running with full motion. We've got a kids' play area, so we have these little pedal airplanes that kids can hop in and buzz around in. There'll be lots of food. We'll have parachutists coming and jumping out of airplanes, something I'm quite fortunate that I never had to do.
Yeah, you always want to drive. You don't want to jump out.
Well, if it's a perfectly good airplane, you should stay in it, in my view.
100%. I'm with you.
Well, I had a 35-year professional career, and I have as many landings as I have takeoffs.
That's a great stat, my friend.
You want it to balance out in the end, don't you?
Even one out of whack is not good.
I never jumped and I never ejected.
Yeah, I was ready for it, but fortunately, circumstances worked in my favor.
That's awesome. So we're going to see you there on the open house, at the open house?
Absolutely. I'll be there the whole time. Please, folks, come on out. Have a chance to see the snowbirds. But after this open house, come anytime and see that aircraft, because we're going to have it for a very, very long time.
Thanks so much for joining us and letting us in on some history, which I think both of us really appreciated, Steve. Have a great day.
Oh, my pleasure, and thanks so much for your interest. Really appreciate it.
Steve Hale, the president of the BC Aviation Museum.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
.02 on CFAX 1070 and CTV Vancouver Island. Steve subbing for Ryan this week. It's a hazy, humid day ahead of us. Time for CFAX 1070 News. Here's Lisa Best.
Thanks, Steve. Good morning. Stats Canada with some fresh numbers for you. The annual rate of inflation easing to 2.8% in June from 3.2% in May, thanks mostly to lower gas prices. BC clocked in at 2.8%, down slightly from 2.9% in May. Stats Canada also releasing initial rates for major cities. Victoria at 2.9%, down from 3.3%, so a healthy drop there. Vancouver at 3%, which is up from 2.8%. The latest weekly federal tracker from Liaison Strategy shows the Liberal Party, led by the Prime Minister Mark Carney, holding an 8% lead over Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives. Among decided and leading voters, the Liberals stand at 43%, followed by the Conservative at 35%, the NDP at 12%, and the Green Party trailing at 2%. Carney's approval rating at 57%, with 35% disapproving, 8% not sure. Poilievre's numbers have moved in the wrong direction since last week's improvement. 36% have a favorable view of him, 50% have an unfavorable view, and 8% are not sure. And there's 5% who are not familiar with him. Liaison surveyed a random sample of over 1,500 Canadians between July 5th and 18th. As smaller financial startups increasingly broaden their product offerings, it may be tempting to make the switch from your big bank. A certified financial planner, Nick Kern, says switching banks shouldn't be a rush process, but a more relaxed one.
You probably want to leave that old account open for one or maybe two billing cycles, just to make sure that you haven't missed anything before closing that old account.
Hearn says it's important to consider the overall relationship with the bank and ask whether the advice or services being provided justify the cost before you decide to jump ship. Speaking of ships, the U.S. launching its ninth straight night of attacks on Iran. Iran responded by attacking Kuwait and Bahrain, which is home to the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet. As of Sunday, Iranian authorities say at least 50 people have been killed and over 500 wounded in the latest round of U.S. strikes. Since the U.S.-Israel began the war with Iran nearly 5 months ago, 17 American military members have been killed, including one Saturday who died in Iraq during the, quote, controlled detonation of a downed Iranian drone. An argument between two groups at a pizza restaurant in downtown Tucson escalated to gunfire early yesterday. ABC's Jim Ryan tells us 10 people were wounded, including the suspected gunman.
The extent of the injuries to the victims or the suspected gunman have not been disclosed, but psychologically,
you kind of have to accept the fact that you're not safe.
Alicia Lynch narrowly escaped the shooting at Empire Pizza.
That is pretty sad to think about, but I feel like gun violence has been on the rise, especially in my lifetime.
A website that keeps track says the country has seen more than 300 mass shootings in 2026, defined as a single incident in which 4 or more people are shot. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
And that is your news to 7:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question we're asking, have you ever had a close encounter with a wild animal? 66% say yes. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com. Also on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news time, 7:06.
Thank you, Lisa. Weather forecast for Greater Victoria. Mix of sun and cloud today. It'll be hazy late this afternoon, a high near 25. About 7 degrees cooler where the winds blow onshore. Humidex's going to make it feel like 30. And your UV index is at 8 or very high. Partly cloudy, hazy this evening with a low near 14. Mainly sunny, hazy in the morning and early afternoon tomorrow with a high near 25. Sunny on Wednesday with a high near 25. Right now downtown, it's 14 degrees. Well, the Blue Jays struggles continue. It's not been a good season. It hasn't been fun.
We got time.
I know they do, and they're still like within a reasonable distance of a playoff spot, but
it's not last year. It's not last year. Mind you, last year started out a little weak, didn't it?
Yeah, but this time is when they came alive, actually. So, yes.
Sleeping through part of the season.
Little nappy.
Let's hope they wake up soon.
Actually, did you happen to see anything of the Blue Jays Saturday?
Just some highlights.
They brought out the entire championship, well, what's left of the entire championship teams.
Really?
From 92 and 93.
Wow, okay. That's moving.
It brought back so many great memories for me, watching those guys come out in came out in nice cars, still circle around.
Really?
Yeah.
Impressive.
They've got a statue out front now of Joe Carter and the big home run.
Very nice.
The walk-off.
Yeah.
And it was just nice to see, like, Rance Mulliniks. Like, who didn't love Rance Mulliniks back then? And some of these names you just don't think of anymore.
No, because it's just off your radar.
One of the nicest athletes I ever met was Tom Hankey.
Okay.
He was just a really nice guy. Like, after I interviewed him, he would say thank you. Because I would say thank you, and he would say, no, thank you.
Wow, that is nice.
Let's just say not everybody did that.
No, of course not. And, fame makes you just more of what you already are.
But I really liked Tom in particular.
Oh.
I remember going and covering them in a series in Minnesota, and he was just so nice. Anyway,
nice memory.
Yeah, it is. It's just, I forgot so much, and just having them out there. And then, unfortunately, Dwayne Ward passed away yesterday.
Mm-hmm. That was quite shocking.
So he died in Toronto of natural causes, and Tom Hankey was the one guy that went out in a car by himself. I suspect that Dwayne was supposed to be with him.
Right. Leave the seat empty.
Yeah.
Okay.
And anyway,
it's an honor.
Dwayne, you were awesome. Thank you for everything you added to the Blue Jays fans' lives over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And just really good memories. Local sports, West Shore Rebels kicking out the season at home on the weekend, 27-1 win over the Valley Huskers. Junior A Shamrocks splitting the first two games of their first-round playoff series with Port Coquitlam. They won on Saturday night 11-9, but lost 10-7 yesterday. Game 3 of the series goes tomorrow in Poco. And the Harbor Cats lost the rubber match of their 3-game series with Wenatchee yesterday, 3-1. They're in Nanaimo for a 3-game set against the Night Owls starting on Tuesday. CFAX Mornings are brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Their buy one, get one free event is on now. Stock up on some of the items your family enjoys the most. Don't forget to check out the flyer for details. Well, the commute is cleaning up nicely. We might have had the early peak here because the Trans-Canada is green. like all the way from Goldstream Provincial Park until you get to the Sandwich Core.
It never happens.
Like, really? Like, look at it, Lisa. I'm going to turn the...
Oh, I can see it.
You see
I can see it, yeah. Look at the monitor.
Look at that.
Everybody, turn on your maps.
It's incredible.
Good, though.
I'm a little...
Get out there and drive.
I'm a little shaken.
Nothing stopping you is red lights.
As my son would say, Dad, you're rattled.
It's the little things. We're impressed when there's no red on the screen, and we don't have to tell you about the bad travels and the wait time you're going to have. That's a win. We'll take that for a win.
Speaking of wait times, very nice segue. Thank you very much. It's almost like you've done this radio thing before. 24% available deck space on the 8 o'clock sailing, 15% on the 9 o'clock. We do have some delays at the airport. 3 flights in a row. Porter 448 to Ottawa, scheduled for 11:55. Going to be delayed about 10 minutes to 12:05. Air Canada 1900 to Toronto at 12:05. Going to be delayed over an hour. It's now scheduled to go at 1:15. And Porter 442 to Toronto, scheduled for 12:25. Going to be about 15 minutes late. Now scheduled to go at 12:40. On the markets, TSX is up 33 points at 35,297. The Dow Jones down 25 at 52,121. NASDAQ is up 167 at 25,687. And the Canadian dollar down 11 basis points at 71.2 cents U.S.
In the kitchen, in the car, and at the office. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Take us with you. Listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
7:13. You know, last week you got us to do a story about recalls.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one today.
Okay. This is vehicle recalls we're talking about.
Correct.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the recall covers nearly 48,000 vehicles, including certain 2025 Hyundai Kona Electric and 2026 Hyundai Kona models. The automaker said the rear center seatbelt buckle may fail to properly restrain a passenger during a crash. Hyundai is advising owners not to use the rear center seating position until it's repaired. Owner notification letters are expected to be mailed September 11th. And dealers will replace the rear center seat buckle assembly free of charge. I'm Jim Forbes.
Yeah, don't put your kid in the middle seat. That's what that says.
But the recall, the sheer amount of recalls that we have, we did the question about 10 days ago.
Yeah.
Has your vehicle ever been recalled? And I think it was 2/3 or more said yes. What's happening with the assembly line?
Something's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these things are like, we've had seatbelt technology for how many years?
Right.
How do we mess that up?
Because we're constantly trying to make things better, probably. We're constantly tweaking it.
Or we're trying to make it cheaper.
Or we're cutting corners. I'd like the former rather than the latter, but I understand that's sometimes capitalism. Right.
I'll take it. Anyway, I'm not trying to take a shot at Hyundai because I've had a Hyundai in my...
No.
And it was a fine car.
There's been lots of recalls, yeah.
But, yeah, just, come on, guys. It's not going well. Mistakes are being made. Too many. 7:15 here at CFAX 1070. Here's Lisa with your news headlines.
Prime Minister Mark Carney says this is one of the most intense wildfire seasons in the history of Canada. Carney attributes the fires to extreme heat waves and dry conditions, drier than normal this year. The Prime Minister making the comments on social media after visiting federal workers in Ottawa yesterday morning. The workers are supporting a wildfire response as nearly 1,000 fires blaze coast to coast. Carney says more than 5,000 firefighters, nearly 300 water bombers, and aircraft are battling blazes in Canada. Here on the BC wildfire update on the West Coast, we have 102 active wildfires burning in BC. That is double from what we had Friday. 40 are considered burning out of control. There's been 12 new starts in the last 24 hours, including one that's being held west of Campbell River. That's one of 2 fires on Vancouver Island. The other is under control. BC Wildfire Service says in the coming week, we could see the risk of wildfires sparked by more lightning, even as wildfire officials downgrade the fire near Pemberton that had part of the community evacuated. Andy Burnham, the former mayor of Greater Manchester and the new leader of the Labour Party, took final steps today to succeed Keir Starmer to become Britain's 7th Prime Minister in less than 10 years. The affable politician returned to Parliament in June by winning a risky special election, was sworn in as a member July 12th, hours after the unpopular Starmer announced his resignation to end a tenure of just under 2 years in office. The 56-year-old Burnham arrived at the palace accepting the invitation by King Charles to form government in a moment known as kissing hands. And if you love your coffee, a new study out about coffee and what it does to your ticker health says that for most healthy adults, up to 400 milligrams of coffee a day. What does that mean exactly? That's 3 to 5 8-ounce cups of black coffee is generally considered safe. Researchers say adding all that sugary syrup, heavy cream, and other add-ins could chip away at the potential health benefits, of course. Studies show coffee may even be linked to lower heart disease, heart failure, stroke, and type 2 diabetes in coffee. But, of course, that's black coffee. Before you turn the small into a large cup, experts say more isn't necessarily better. Higher doses, especially from energy drinks or energy shots, have been linked to actually higher blood pressures and abnormal heart rhythms. That's your news to 7:18.
Need a cab? Download the new Bluebird Cabs app at Bluebird Cabs Ltd. Bluebird Cabs, proudly local and Canadian-owned and run since 1946. On the highways, slow down a little bit on the Trans-Canada Victoria bound as you go by the hospital. Picks up again right after the curve. No other delays. At the ferry terminal, the next available sailing at 8 o'clock has 20% available deck space. The 9 o'clock has 15.
Ryan and Lisa. Mornings on CFAX 1070. Remember, you have us in the palm of your hand. For listeners on the go, listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Well, as my Jersey journey continues today, I've gone Vancouver Whitecaps, and I did that on purpose because we're going to talk Whitecaps right now. As the Whitecaps ownership remains a topic of speculation, we now have a new question on the sports business. Will the team end up running the provincially owned BC Place moving forward. Post Media Sports columnist Patrick Johnston has explored the permutations and is joining us now. Good morning, Patrick. Thanks for joining us.
Well, it's great to be here. Good morning.
Well, this is an interesting story because I think at one point about 2 weeks ago, there was talk that the Whitecaps weren't interested in the stadium at all anymore. And then last week, it totally turned around. This has been going back and forth for a while now.
Yes. Yeah, that's a while now for sure. The fact is that the team has been trying to figure out, first of all, how do they secure a long-term future? But even before that, how do they secure their short-term future? And, we sort of had this idea when this all started bubbling up. I mean, they've been looking for a new owner for a year and a half. But when the stadium talk really started bubbling up over the winter, you kind of sat back. I mean, even the commissioner himself said, well, hey, maybe we should get a chance to run the stadium. You started thinking, maybe this is something they need just to take a crack at. And maybe they can, the stadium doesn't lose money, but doesn't make a ton of money. It does okay. But maybe, they can figure this out. Maybe somehow they can do a better job than what's being done already. So, yeah, I mean, it was not a huge surprise, but at the same time, you're like, okay, it's July. We've been talking about this for months. Why suddenly now?
Do you think it has something to do with how alive the stadium came during the World Cup?
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. Like, there have been a few pressure points. Obviously, we heard about the rumors of Vegas Group being interested. If you go way back to the end of April, which was actually also what they call the FIFA Congress, which is like basically the AGM of FIFA, which was in Vancouver at the Convention Center. Obviously, a huge event. There was a lot of attention on the moment, and now again, exactly, there's been a huge amount of attention on BC Place, on the huge success it's been, and what's possible there in terms of just sort of fan experience and the soccer experience. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think the fact that the attention is there now on the stadium, we're all paying attention. Okay, what's next? The fact that those discussions were ongoing, as I've been told, that the team, the province, and the city, and the local First Nations and the league have been trying to figure out how do we figure out at least the short-term situation here. And yeah, the fact that everyone saw the huge sort of quality of the stadium when it's at its best, they sort of said, well, this is crazy. How could we possibly walk away from this? Because downtown is the best place for a stadium. It's really that simple to me. Yeah. I mean, look at the overhead views from the final yesterday, right? Like MetLife Stadium is a great, totally competent stadium, but it's out in the middle of nowhere, right? And it got mentioned in the post-tournament discussions from the top leaders. From Victor Montagliani was bringing it up. They brought it up on the broadcast. How enthralling the scene here in Vancouver was, having the marches to the stadium that were right there, having Granville Street right there. Obviously, the Peony Amphitheater, which is, removed from the stadium, but it was a huge success. There were huge watch parties all over town. The integration of the stadium into the city is so obvious. And, across the street, it's the same story as the Canucks, right? Like, that's always been one of their big advantages. It works well for the city. The fact that you can get there without driving, you can get there any way you want, is a huge deal. And obviously, there's a lot of businesses connected. There are so many businesses in and around the stadium, restaurants, shops. The way this stadium works and the way it drives so much of the local economy is really hard to miss. And I think that's the government's motivation to even be ready to discuss such an idea, because they know the impact this stadium does and can make on the community. So what would this look like if the team took it over? They'd probably book more events into it, which would pop up the profits. How do you see it working? It's a good point, because I think, I have talked to people there, and they're kind of like, oh, okay, well, what's going to actually be different? I mean, there's a couple things to consider. One is that beginning in 2027, Major League Soccer is switching to a winter season. So right now, obviously, the Whitecaps kick off in usually late February and play, if they make the final, all the way till December. And that's going to flip around. So kickoff now is going to be more like in August, and the final will be more like May, which is, the calendar that every major European league follows. So what that actually does for the stadium is it actually opens up a lot of summertime dates to book concerts, because one of the challenges right now is that they obviously can book winter concerts like Taylor Swift, or this coming autumn they've got Bruno Mars coming in, but because of the Whitecaps and because of the BC Lions, there's just no windows in the summer for them to book a lot of the big summertime concert tours. It was interesting. I obviously look at Instagram, and Bayern Munich had a note up about how their summer concert seasons come to an end at their stadium, but that is something that BC Place just can't participate in. So there's more options, certainly more concerts they'd be able to book, which on its own probably increases your profit margin. Concerts are not very expensive for stadiums to run. They love putting them on because the profits are big. And then the other thing is things like sponsorships. And the way I've been sort of explaining this is you look at beer, for instance. So a tenant is able to put beer into one out of every roughly 10 taps at the stadiums, if you will. And so, okay, that's nice. The Whitecaps have an official beer, but they're not able to sort of build out and say it's available at every event, it's available all across the stadium. If you flip that relationship around and all of a sudden now you're saying, okay, the Whitecaps are able to talk about selling out, drinks at every event, unlike only at Whitecaps games as it is right now, that increases not just the ability to sell more beer, but that increases the profile of the product. And then it becomes something you can scale out. So you're then taking in more money just to sell the sponsorship. Nobody's going to pay to be the official beer of BC Place. They are going to pay to be the official beer of the Vancouver Whitecaps. So you start looking at all the different sponsorships in that realm, right? So you can start building up the amount of sort of base money that gets given to you for the simple right to do the business. And so I think that's kind of what they're leaning on. And then, of course, they would absolutely look to try to sell naming rights to the stadium. Now, of course, the government could have easily done that. Why they haven't done that's never been quite clear to me. But I certainly think that, there's a few avenues. I think the team believes that if they come into this, sort of as a new partner, a new angle, that they can actually increase the revenues from the stadium.
Okay, two quick questions before we wrap up because I'm running out of time here.
Yeah.
How does this affect the Lions?
Well, I mean, first of all, Robbie Collin, the minister, has said, any deal the Whitecaps get will be the same as the Lions. Now, that refers to sort of short-term lease, and they've already turned over all of potentially profits from Whitecaps games to the Whitecaps. So that's a swing of roughly $3.5 million. So that deal obviously is on the table for the Lions. So, the Lions underneath all this are already going to get more money. And I think just, in the end, they would not, my impression is nothing would fundamentally change. The operator would change. But in the end, the Lions are a team that needs somewhere to play. And, they've never been terribly happy with their lease, is my understanding. And so I think there would just be them pushing to get improved conditions for what they have. But just to quickly, I know you're running out of time, but quickly, the thing to understand is that the Lions' costs are far lower than the Whitecaps. Thomas Mueller, who's obviously the Whitecaps superstar, alone makes more money than the entire roster of the BC Lions. So the sort of cost challenges are just so dramatically different between the two teams.
Okay, and the most important question I'm going to ask you, Patrick, why don't they just keep the natural turf from the Fraser Valley?
It's incredibly expensive. I mean, even at the end, the Game 7 there last, 2 weeks ago, you could start seeing some browning on the edges. It was an expensive proposition. To do it properly, they need somewhere to store the field outside, and there's just nowhere nearby to do that anymore. Maybe in the old days when they had these huge parking lots outside, it's just too challenging. It's a tough venue to grow grass in. It was wonderful. There's absolutely no doubt, and it would be great if they could figure out. But I think the costs are just too astronomical.
Thanks for all the insight, Patrick, and really good answer on the last question, which is probably the toughest one I gave you. Take care.
Very good. Take care, man. Have a great day.
Patrick Johnson from the Post Media sports columnist.
This summer, 3 of Vancouver Island's biggest voices are coming together to make a real difference.
Get your tickets now for the Kids Count Mega Summer 50/50.
Brought to you by 107.3 Virgin Radio, CFAX 1070, and CTV.
In support of CFAX Santa's Anonymous all-new Kids Count program, supporting children beyond Christmas.
The Mega Summer 50/50.
Your chance to win big while giving back.
Buy your tickets today at CFAX1070.com.
Gaming event license 174660. CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
7:33 here on CFAX 1070 and CTV Vancouver Island. If you're watching anywhere around the island, first of all, welcome. Steve in for Ryan for one more week. A hazy, humid day ahead. A lot of sun in the forecast this week. Time for CFAX 1070 News. Here's Lisa Best.
Thanks, Stephen. Good morning. A facelift for Victoria may be on the agenda this week. CFAX 1070's Koch Cotton has details.
Vacant and derelict buildings are not only an eyesore for Victoria residents, but may be an investment opportunity. That's according to a motion scheduled for City Council later this week. These forgotten buildings could also become safety hazards and are subject to structural collapse. Councillors Matt Dell and Dave Thompson argue in their motion. However, Victoria's current regulatory framework may be insufficient to incentivise timely redevelopment. Both councillors are recommending that the city conduct a review of its existing bylaw and enforcement tools related to neglected properties, including an assessment of gaps in jurisdiction, staffing capacity and enforcement timelines. Koch Cadden, CFAX 1070 News.
The BC wildfire update has doubled the amount of fires we had burning on Friday. 51 on Friday has now jumped to 102. Across BC today. 40 are considered out of control. We've had 12 new starts in the last 24 hours, including one that's being held west of Camel River. That's a new fire. It's one of two on the island. The other one is under control. BC Wildfire Services in the coming week, we are going to see the higher risk of fires sparked by lightning, even as wildfire officials have downgraded a fire near Pemberton and lifted evacuation alerts in that community. The agency says that the widespread thunder activity is forecast, which is raising the risk of more fire sparking. The warm, dry conditions are also a problem. Greater Victoria, the temperature is expected to climb and stay around 27 midweek for 3 days. That's going to feel a lot hotter with the humidity. Environment Canada says that BCers should be bracing themselves for the possibility of poor air quality in parts of the province in the coming days. Meantime, the wildfire situation in northern Ontario and across Canada remains the same. Nearly 200 wildfires burning in Ontario alone, close to 1,000 across the country. CTV's Heather Wright has more on what the Prime Minister has called one of the most intense wildfire seasons in Canadian history.
10 communities in northwestern Ontario have already been evacuated, with many more being told to prepare to leave should things get worse. Prime Minister Mark Carney said in a statement, Canada is taking an all-hands-on-deck approach. More than 5,300 firefighting personnel have been deployed across the country. Nearly 300 aircraft are in the field, from water bombers and helicopters to evacuation aircraft. Experts say so many of the fires burning are simply impossible to fight.
And these are high-intensity fires, and you cannot put people in front of them because it's too dangerous. You have to get out of the way and wait for the weather to change.
Meanwhile, the U.S. president adding fuel to that wildfire situation. Trump asked about his conversation with Mark Carney, whether the topic of fires came up at the World Cup game they watched.
I told him, you got to stop these fires from coming in and, poisoning our air. Our air has been poisoned. I have a good relationship with Mark Carney, but, we got to stop the fires up there. If we can help them, we'll help them. But maybe they should pay us some damages or something, or we should do some tariffs.
Trump is not the only U.S. official who has mentioned Canada should possibly face sanctions over wildfire smoke, suggestions of which have already been brushed off by the Prime Minister, as well as Ontario Premier Doug Ford. He had some spicy comments to make about dealing with tariffs and wildfire smoke. That's your news to 7:36. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question we're asking, have you ever had a run-in with a wild animal, a close encounter? 66%, two-thirds say yes. You can vote at CFAX1070.com. Also on the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa, best your news time is 7:37.
Usually I have one every day.
A run-in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Josh Hilden.
Oh, wild animal. He can be a beast sometimes. He's back this week, too. We should speak in loving terms of him.
Okay.
My bad.
You know who's a real nice person, though? Jade is. We love Jade. Not an animal.
I think I heard Josh's ears just perk up there. We'll find out when he comes in.
Right.
Right.
Weather forecast for Greater Victoria. A mix of sun and cloud, hazy late this afternoon, a high near 25, 18 where the winds blow on shore. Humidex going to make it feel like 30. UV index up there at very high at 8. Partly cloudy, hazy this evening. Winds will be light from the west, 30 near the Juan de Fuca Strait with a low near 14. Right now, downtown, 14 degrees. Correcting a mistake that Steve made on the sports today. The Victoria Junior A Shamrocks split the first two games of the first round playoff matchup against Port Coquitlam, winning 11-9 on Saturday, dropping a 10-7 decision yesterday. Got that part right. What I got wrong was where game 3 is tomorrow. It's a 5 o'clock start in Colwood. Apologies to the Junior A Shamrocks for that. We'll get it right. The Harbour Cats lost the rubber match of their 3-game series with Wenatchee yesterday, 3-1. They're in Nanaimo for a 3-game series, which starts on Tuesday. Blue Jays were blanked 3-0 by the White Sox. Mariners doubled San Francisco 6-3. It was Spain winning the World Cup. This is what it sounded like in downtown Madrid as it came to an end. They seem pretty upset by it all. 1-0 the final. Former Canadian Open champion and New Zealander Ryan Fox made a birdie on the last hole to win the British Open at Royal Birkdale. CFL last night, Winnipeg came from behind up in Ottawa 36-34 in OT. Your commute getting a little more complicated from the West Shore as the morning progresses. Things get slow just before you get to the hospital around the Island Highway exit on the Trans-Canada Victoria bound. Then it's a red zone there for a little while at Helmkin until you get through the construction zone, and then it improves dramatically after that. Getting a little congested around Mayfair on Douglas Street. Hillside's busier than normal today as well. And at the ferry terminal, the next available sailing at 8 o'clock has 9% available deck space. On your markets, TSX down 133 points at 35,130. Dow Jones down 117. Make that 135 as it just clicked over at 52,010. The NASDAQ up 137 points at 25,658. The Canadian dollar down 11 basis points at 71.2 cents U.S.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Oversleepers, catch all the highlights on the latest audio podcast at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
7:42 here at CFAX 1070. Let's go through some viewer mail, shall we?
Oh, we should.
You've texted us at 71010. First of all, once again, Game 3 of the Shamrock Series is tomorrow at 5 in Colwood.
Okay.
I'm saddened by how much discussions about summer events, sporting events, and restaurant survival revolve around alcohol. That's well played. I used to live in a Chosen. Back then, I left my dog out for a bathroom break one night. He wandered around for a couple minutes before I realized there was a big brown bear standing about 10 feet away from where we were. Bear didn't care too much, thankfully. We were just able to walk back inside.
Good. Bear was well fed. It's when you see those glittering eyes in the dark, right? You start to question why you opened the door.
Right? At China Beach, Dad thought he saw a bear. He started running, mowing down my little sister, resulting in a faceplant in the sand.
Oh.
He finally turned around to pick her back up. Dad did never escape the roasting he received until his final days. That's from Don. Don't run over your kid getting away from the bear. Doesn't make you look
Take your
tough.
child with you.
What else we got here? Good morning, Steve and Lisa. Thanks for telling us about the watch party at Uptown. It was a wonderful afternoon. Even when the generators overheated and the gigantic screen went dark for a little bit, some people just pulled out their phones and kept everybody around them updated until they got it going again. It really was a great afternoon with an amazing crowd of soccer fans of all ages.
Nice.
Isn't that a nice picture?
I didn't realize it had gone down.
That's really nice.
Glad it was brief.
I think this tournament really brought us together nicely in terms of enthusiasm and people getting involved in a way they could. And it kind of offset all the talk beforehand that we will be getting back to shortly about the cost because that is not going to go away. And we're going to find out how much FIFA increased the budget on BC, because I have no doubt, and I have nothing to prove this or anything yet. I'm just going on Steve's instincts that this will cost us more than they said.
Well, historically, that's kind of how it's worked.
Yes.
So that's why we kind of brace ourselves for the final numbers.
Yes. USA should build a wall to keep smoke from crossing the border.
Mm-hmm.
The insulting thing about the smoke is that we lost Nicholas Dale, Canadian helicopter pilot, who was doing fire suppression in Colorado.
Right.
He made the ultimate sacrifice.
He's from Souk. Sad.
Good morning. Maybe the smoke is exhaust from the U.S. tariffs bestowed on Canada politicians. Yuck.
Interesting spin.
So there you have it. Bears walking through my mom's yard in Souk on the regular makes for interesting security camera footage. It's so true. We never used to have these cameras out there.
Right. Now we've got the cameras to see what kind of wildlife is circulating around your house.
One of my favorite things from past experiences, work jobs, was the cameras they have out in the wild and the bears and the various animals. But
Everything that's gone through, yeah.
So one of my favorite things is the way when they want to scratch and the way they use the tree as the scratching post. I find that highly, highly entertaining. I know it's,
what?
A little juvenile.
Oh, no. Whatever works. What else is going to come in? It's a pole. It's there. It's rough. It works.
They just seem so happy when they're doing it, too. It's
Probably
like,
feels good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Scratch that itch.
Oh, that little stick right there. Oh, you hit the right spot. 7:46. Here's Lisa with your news headlines.
Doctors warning e-bike users to take safety precautions. There's been a lot of collisions that has led to injuries, some serious, in younger people, including children. Dr. Purva Graver with the Cleveland Clinic says she's seen many patients with these injuries. while wearing a bike helmet, which is the wrong helmet to wear. An e-bike specific helmet is required. She says bicycle helmets do not carry the protection needed due to the faster speed of e-bikes. She urges parents to talk to kids about the rules of the road, lowering the chance of a collision. You also have to know the rules of the age that a child can use one of these and exactly where locally in Greater Victoria. The U.S. president is letting up on his threat to tear up Canada over the wildfire smoke. Trump and the Prime Minister sat together during Sunday's World Cup game in New Jersey alongside Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum, leaders of the three host countries. Now, after the game, Trump told reporters he talked to Carney about stopping the fires poisoning American air, saying, if we can help them, we'll help them. But maybe they should be paying for some damages or something. We should do some tariffs. That's his quote. Smoke from Canadian fires, of course, triggering air quality warnings right across Ontario into multiple states, including Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, New York, and Indiana. And Andy Burnham is appointed Britain's new Prime Minister after meeting King Charles this morning at Buckingham Palace. The King has asked him to form government after Keir Starmer formally resigned under pressure from his Labour Party. Burnham will become the 7th UK Prime Minister in just 10 years. That's your news to 7:48.
Where the noise stops and the conversation begins.
Hey, it's Friday. Welcome to the Graham Richardson Show.
The stories that shaped your week aren't just headlines. They are the moments we live through and the decisions that change what comes next.
Let's take a closer look at that together.
It's national conversations. From major policy shifts to the fun, unexpected trends and friends everyone will be talking about. It is intelligent, unpredictable, and completely Canadian. Stay informed. Stay ahead. The Graham Richardson Show. Friday morning at 9 a.m. right here on CFAX 1070.
CFAX Mornings are brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Their buy one, get one free event is on now. Stock up on some of the items your family enjoys the most. See their flyer for details. Things have improved once again on the Trans-Canada Victoria bound. It's a little slow past Island Highway until you get to the big curve, and then improves greatly from there. A little busy on the side streets around Mayfair Shopping Centre and on Hillside Drive. Nothing too major to worry about. At the ferry terminal, the next available sailing is at 8 o'clock. It only has 6% available deck space left.
Ryan and Lisa are ready when you are.
Good morning.
Day or night, find the highlights under latest audio at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
This was Lisa's idea once again to look into. It's National Drowning Prevention Week, and it's something that's been front of mind for us as we've seen several tragedies in recent weeks. That includes, of course, the suspension of the search for the missing swimmer in Stamp River near Port Alberni, and, of course, the drowning off of Richmond of the ship, as well as incidents on the interior lakes of BC. BC Emergency Health Services paramedic and public information officer Brian Thwaites joining us to get into what we need to know and provide some reminders. This is a very special week, right?
Yeah, good morning. It is. It's a week that we should all be really thinking about for sure.
Now, Lisa, you wanted to talk about this because as a veteran news person, you've told too many of these stories.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to put it, and that's a sad kind of intro because we just had an incident in Kelowna of losing a gentleman. A senior died in the water on the weekend. Brian, there always seems to be a disconnect. We go into this every year to try to educate people on wearing a life jacket and understanding the danger of water when most of us have some swimming ability, but we're not Olympic athletes. Do we overestimate how good we are?
Yeah, that's a very good point. As you said, tragically, there's already been several fatal drowning incidents in BC this year. And I think just to emphasize what you said, anyone can drown, and that's even people who know how to swim, but no one should. So we really want you to think about that when you're in or around the water. Things like personal flotation devices, life jackets, you got to wear them, and you got to wear them properly.
The difference, and it may be obvious, but I'm going to ask the obvious question anyways. The difference is swimming in a lake versus an ocean and the things you have to look for.
That's also a really good question. And in the ocean, we have things like currents and undertows that can be quite hazardous. And in lakes and rivers, especially in British Columbia, they're glacial fed a lot of the time, so that water's quite cold. So you can get something that's called cold water shock, where your body, if you jump into the water and are immersed into cold water, you can get this cold water shock syndrome, and it can actually kill you in minutes, well before hypothermia sets in. So you need to be cognizant of wherever you're swimming or playing in the water.
So dip your toe before you jump in.
Pretty much, yeah. A nice, easy walk-in if it's cold, for sure.
So people who do the ocean swimming, the reason why they're sort of meandering into it rather than just plummeting themselves into it and plunging in, there's a health reason for that.
Exactly, yeah, and cold water shock. If we talk about that is from sudden immersion into cold water that's below 15 degrees Celsius. And of course, throughout British Columbia, we have a lot of water that doesn't get above 15 degrees Celsius, even in this beautiful weather that we're having right now.
Life jackets. They make them so small and so comfortable nowadays. You barely realize you're wearing them, but yet there still seems to be a disconnect, sort of like wearing a seatbelt, that we have it with us and that's enough.
Right, yeah, and you're so correct. You look at people that are out kayaking, paddleboarding, and they've got their PFDs, their personal flotation devices on, and they're so compact, and they work great. And that's the thing. Just having them with you on the boat by law it's not good enough. You need to have it on. And there's a difference also a lot of people don't realize between life jackets and PFDs. A personal flotation device, like we talked about, the small and compact ones, they definitely help keep you afloat. Whereas a life jacket, they're actually designed so that if you fall into the water and possibly knock yourself unconscious, they'll actually work to right you in the water to keep your head above water.
I know in my past with water skiing and with using SUPs, the stand-ups, paddle boards, and kayaks for that matter, but anything where I could possibly fall over, I have fallen and hit my skis on the way down, and I have fallen and hit a SUP on the way down. And I remember thinking while I'm in the water, thinking I am in so much pain from the hit. I was so grateful to be wearing something that I didn't have to paddle hard to keep my head above water.
Exactly. And that's the thing. We don't, these incidents, these accidents, they happen and they're sudden, just like you said. And next thing you know, you're in the water. And thankfully, you've got a life jacket or a PFD on that's keeping your head above water. And if we even go back into that cold water shock thing, if you're on a lake that's cold and you go into the water suddenly. That's what cold water shock does, is it gives you actually a very sudden, uncontrollable gasp. So you'll actually start taking water in before you're even aware of it.
Are there any specific trends this year that have surfaced?
Well, our numbers have gone up in June. I don't have the most recent numbers for where we are in July yet, but I can say that the number of drowning or near drowning type of calls that BCEHS has responded to is up this June compared to last June, which is sad to know.
One of the things I've noticed is, lifeguards, and we probably depend on them a little too much, but there's a shortage of lifeguards, and there have been for a few years. Is this playing into that?
Well, I can't really answer that because we have drownings and near drownings in so many different places, and it could be in the ocean, it could be in lakes, beaches, even bathtubs. So the risk is anywhere where there is water. But obviously, I think the safest thing to think about is if you are going to be swimming, make sure that you've got a swim buddy with you, or that you're at a beach or somewhere where there are lifeguards, people that can help keep you safe.
Thanks so much for joining us. We wish we didn't have to do interviews like this every year, Brian, but I think it's important we do, just to put reminders into the back of people's heads. Yeah,
it's so important to get those things out. And I think one last thing, if we could say it, is parents, when you're at the water with kids, we want you to do that close, constant supervision, and we call it touch supervision. And that means that the kids are always within arm's reach of you. Even if they are a strong swimmer, you want to be close by to them. Whether you're in a pool or in the ocean where there could be a current, we want you to be close to keep them safe.
Thanks again for joining us. It's going to be a warm week, and some tips never hurts. Take care.
Thanks. Take care.
Brian Thwaites with the BC Emergency Health Services.
CFAX Victoria,
An iHeartRadio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, Vancouver Island. It's 8:01 on Monday, July the 20th. It's going to be a hazy, humid day ahead, high around 25 degrees. Time for CFAX 1070 News. Here's Lisa Best.
Starting with dollars and cents, Stats Canada says the annual rate of inflation eased back below 3% in June as drivers paid a little less to fill up the gas tank.
Inflation slowed to 2.8% in June from 3.2% in May. The agency pointed to a 10% drop in the cost of gasoline month over month to explain the decline. Gas prices surged over the spring, mostly because of conflict in the Middle East, but a tentative peace agreement between the U.S. and Iran took pressure off global oil prices over the course of June. Prices at the grocery store, meanwhile, were up 3.9% last month, but that also marked a slowdown from May as price hikes eased on fresh fruit. Michelle Zedekian, The Canadian Press.
The U.S. Pentagon identifying 2 service members killed in the Middle East. The Defense Department says a woman and a man died in the Iranian strike in Jordan. Another service member also died during a controlled detonation of a drone in Iraq. Here's ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers.
The president was also asked about the timeline of this war because, of course, at the onset of this, he had said it would last 4 to 5 to maybe 6 weeks. And now here we are closing in around 5 months. The president said right now this is, quote, a far bigger job that we're doing. And he once again said that the United States is trying to strike at Iran's nuclear capabilities.
A new twist in that massive lettuce recall amid the U.S. cyclosporiasis outbreak. The FDA now says a sample of Taylor Farms lettuce that had tested positive for the parasite was apparently a false positive, but the recall remains.
Taylor Farms says that the FDA has not identified a single positive product that has tested positive for the parasite and that this recall is out of an abundance of caution. Last week, the FDA, though, did link the outbreak in 5 states to Taylor Farms' shredded iceberg lettuce that was sourced from central Mexico and supplied to Taco Bell restaurants. Taco Bell says that it has removed all affected products.
We have close to 1,000 wildfires burning across Canada as of this morning, more than 200 of those in Ontario. The BC wildfire update has 102 active wildfires. That is double from what we had on Friday. 40 are considered out of control, 12 new starts in the last 24 hours, including one smaller fire being held west of Campbell River here on the island. BC Wildfire Service says in the coming weeks, we'll see a higher risk of fires sparked by lightning. This is Environment Canada says some areas of BC should also brace for poorer air quality.
An air quality warning says wildfire smoke is causing or expected to cause poor air quality and reduced visibility across multiple regions in the province on Monday and Tuesday. That includes the Fraser Canyon, the South Thompson, the northeastern corner of the province, with the alert area almost reaching Prince George. More than 100 wildfires continue to burn in the province, and the latest provincial situation report says dry and warm conditions will elevate the potential for new wildfire starts. Naira Ahmed, The Canadian Press.
And there's a new study out linking coffee to your ticker.
Researchers say for most healthy adults, up to 400 milligrams of caffeine a day, that's about 3 to 5 8-ounce cups of black coffee, is generally considered safe.
Go to the dark side. That's your news to 8:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. We're asking, have you ever had a close encounter with a wild animal? About 2/3 are saying absolutely, and some people saying it's actually been a bear. You can vote at CFAX1070.com. Also, the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best. Your news time is 8:06.
We had a question from a listener, and I thought it was poignant about the smoke forecast.
Yes.
And what's going on here. We're actually seeing some smoke from the Pemberton
We are getting some, eh?
Yes.
Coming in?
So it's kind of Campbell River's getting some, and then it kind of until you get to Courtney, and then it's kind of clear, and then just north Nanu's Bay area,
okay,
right down to Victoria is getting some. That's as of 8 o'clock. Now the forecast seems to show it's going to spread right across the island, and Campbell River in particular, before midnight into especially this evening, is going to get a little thick. But we're going to have it for the entire day today and into tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, so it is going to start to affect us. It isn't at horrible levels, according to the smart forecast, but I thought I noticed it coming in just a little bit, and I thought I noticed it last night with the way the sunset looked.
Yeah, it's that orange glow. It makes it actually look very pretty, but it's quite ominous, too, because we know what it is.
So hopefully that helps you. If you're headed over to Vancouver today, once you get off the ferry, you're going to notice it because it's a lot thicker around Vancouver this morning.
Okay. Good to know.
So thank you, listener. You make us do our job. Sometimes when you guys text us, it just...
Oh, sometimes we need the prompts, especially on a Monday.
Yeah.
Sometimes the synapses aren't firing so well.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you for reminding me that.
I can't read a lacrosse schedule today, so that just goes to show you where I'm at.
Takes time.
8:08, here's your weather forecast for Greater Victoria for today. Mix of sun and cloud, hazy late this afternoon, a high near 25. It'll be 18 where the winds blow on shore. Humidex going to feel like 30. Partly cloudy tonight and hazy with a low near 14. Mainly sunny again tomorrow, hazy in the morning and early afternoon with a high near 25. Right now, it's 14. In sports, Spain not only look like the best team in the World Cup, they are the best team in the World Cup. They totally shut down Argentina for a 1-0 victory in the final. The winner came in extra time. CFL Sunday night, Winnipeg coming from behind, up in Ottawa 36-34 in overtime. Looks like Lions quarterback Nathan Rourke won't be available for this week's home game against the Argos. He banged up his shoulder in the Friday night affair. West Shore Rebels, winners of the weekend over the Valley Huskers, 27-1. The Junior A Shamrocks splitting the first two games of their first-round playoff matchup against Port Coquitlam, winning 11-9 Saturday, dropping a 10-7 decision yesterday. Game 3 goes tomorrow, 5 o'clock in Colwood. Harbor Cats lost the rubber match of their 3-game series with Wenatchee 3-1 yesterday. Checking your traffic at 8:10 in the morning. It's green again, all the way Victoria bound on the Trans-Canada, right from Goldstream Park until you get in front of Mayfair Shopping Centre. Green, 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 really good shape. We've done a wonderful job so far this morning, people. Let's keep it up. One more hour. That's all we need to do. Get us till 9 o'clock, and then everything sort of takes care of itself. Swartz Bay, the next available sailings at 9 o'clock. It has 21% available deck space. On the markets, the TSX is down 63 points at 35,200. The Dow Jones down 146 at 51,999. And the Nasdaq is up 88 points at 25,608. The Canadian dollar down 19 basis points at 71.1 cents U.S.
Ryan and Lisa. Mornings on CFAX 1070.
This is what it sounded like in Matero, Spain, yesterday, Lisa. I don't know what that means.
That means we're very happy.
It does.
Celebrating. Yeah. And good for Spain.
Yes, good for Spain. Congratulations.
We wanted Canada to go further, but we went further than we've ever been before.
We won a game.
So we got that.
We never have won a game.
Right.
Won a knockout game. Never been in the knockout before. Steve says that is success.
I would agree. Yes. I think we all agree. And the energy that it brought to Vancouver, because Canada was actually putting itself on the map in a firm fashion, really kind of went off the chart. I think, as the dust settles and we have to deal with that lofty price tag, it's a bit of balm on the soul to think, well, it was good. It was expensive, but it was fun. Yeah. And you went to a game.
I did.
So you had that experience.
That's going to stack up for a while with a lot of, my Canada moments are my most precious moments when it comes to sports.
Yeah.
So
we're specific to our countries.
Yeah. 87 Canada Cup final, Hamilton. Dale Hawerchuk.
Okay. Dale Hawerchuk.
Dale Hawerchuk was not appreciated for how important he was to that particular team.
Yeah.
Rest his soul.
He's a great player. He'd go to the sidelines and smoke a cigarette.
Yes, he would.
He was a chain smoker. And I'd watch him do that and think, how are you managing to be such a pro athlete? Because back then you could just have a cigarette anywhere. It was crazy.
Guy Lafleur, same thing.
Same thing with Guy.
And unfortunately, they both died early.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, he was the unsung hero. He actually won the face-off that led to the play. First of all, he was the best player on the ice that day. Mm. And he won the face-off. Gretz came up the ice, sent it over to Mario. Even though Larry Murphy was more open than Mario, he sent it to Mario because he's Wayne Gretzky, and he was smart enough to know,
I can't play favorites here. Pass it to the low-hanging fruit.
And you know why I remember that so much?
Why? Because you remember details.
Okay, so I'm up in the media part up there, and one of the guys up there with me is Pete James, who was my hero growing up as far as sportscasters go.
Okay,
because he was the local guy in London, Ontario, and I used him as a mentor. I would send my tapes and stuff like that to Pete because my dad knew him in some way, and he was actually helping me in my career.
Okay,
and Pete was very stoic. And Pete did the professional sportscaster thing. You're not supposed to cheer in the press box, all that stuff.
Stay neutral.
Yeah. Guess who was the first one on their feet going nuts? Pete James.
Well, sometimes our favorites show through.
That's why it's a memory. Yes. So congratulations to all those involved. Thank you to the volunteers around Vancouver and the police officers from even here on Vancouver Island that went over and helped out with the security. And we made it through an event with somebody involved in a war with the country and all that stuff, and we didn't have a big incident.
No, we prepare for it not to happen. And we basically make sure that we have enough security and police on hand. And we also had fire standing on hand, too. I have friends who are fire investigators, and they were deeply involved. Yeah, they had all hands on deck for that. So, and it worked out very well for us.
Yes, and it was a little inconvenient at times, I will say, as somebody who went to a game. But in the bigger picture, big success. And the two things I wish we would have seen was a few more games in Mexico, because I thought those stadiums were just outstanding. And and we mentioned this in the interview with Post Media, like to end it in a postage stamp kind of stadium that you would, generic as, in the middle of the Meadowlands when there's no people around and the only thing next to it is a racetrack for horses. It could have been so much more.
Yeah.
It just could have been.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
8:17, here's Lisa with your news headlines.
Talking politicians' popularity, the latest weekly federal tracker from Liaison Strategy shows the Liberal Party, led by Mark Carney, holding an 8-point lead over Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives. Among decided and leaning voters, the Liberals stand at 43%, followed by the Conservatives at 35%, the NDP trailing at 12%, the Green Party down at 2%. Carney's approval rating at 57%, 35% disapproving, 8% say they're not sure. Poilievre's numbers have dipped the wrong way since last week's improvement. Currently, 36% have a favorable view of that leader, 50% unfavorable, 8% not sure, and 5% actually admit they're not familiar with him. Liaison surveyed about 1,500 Canadians between July 5th and 18th. Babcock Canada could extend its servicing contract for the Royal Canadian Navy's Victory-class submarines throughout the fleet's end of life. The federal government has awarded Babcock Canada a 6-year extension on its $1.1 billion servicing contract, which includes options to service until the Navy transitions to the new subs. Canada's fleet of 4 Victoria submarines is expected to be retired in the next 10 years or so, the mid-2030s. One person's in custody after an explosion caused smoke outside a federal building in New York City this morning in what authorities say was an anti-ice attack. Police say an incendiary device went off outside 26 Federal Plaza and that police found a man with an airsoft rifle, carbon dioxide cartridges, halogen lighting, and a helmet. There were reports that fireworks had exploded in a garage outside the building housing ICE and FBI employees. There were no injuries. That's your news to 8:18.
For a comfortable home, no matter what the season, and big savings on your heating bill, talk to Coastal Heat Pumps, designed for comfort, the South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu dealer. Checking your highway situation, I see a fender bender or somebody off to the side of the road. Not sure which. It's on the Trans-Canada. It looks like it's northbound. It's just after the ice cream shop. If you Ice Cream Mountain, as you head into Gulfstream Provincial Park. So if it doesn't seem to be affecting traffic in terms of delays yet, but just something to keep your eye on.
The best way to start an island morning. Ryan and Lisa on CFAX 1070.
There's a lot of talk about the idea of that southern route pipeline, but still little information about where all this infrastructure would go and what it would actually look like in Delta and at the port. Vancouver Sun columnist Vaughn Palmer looked into the issue recently, joining us to catch us up. Good morning, Vaughn. I wanted to give you credit before we got too far into this. As somebody who views press conferences online to cover them in the studio here in Victoria, how many times you come to the rescue of a press conference by asking the right question? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I've been at it for a long time. It's maybe too long, some politicians would tell you, but here I am. 11 premiers and counting, and British Columbia politics is very rewarding in terms of material, not always rewarding in terms of good government, but there you go.
Well, let's talk a little bit about all these announcements that we've heard recently about major projects, especially when it comes to the Roberts Bank and Delta and how all this would fit together. Have you gotten any further?
We've been talking about a new pipeline through British Columbia for a long time, and they upgraded the TMX one, and then we started talking, because Alberta was pushing it, a northern pipeline. And then suddenly the Premier and the Prime Minister have an event earlier this month, and they said, no, that's not going to happen. Prime Minister says he's leaving the moratorium in place on northern tanker traffic, which means there'd be no point in building a pipeline if you can't run tankers out of it. And the Premier says it's great, and then they say, but there is going to be a pipeline, Alberta wants it, and it's going to go south and not to Burnaby. They say it's going to go to Roberts Bank. Well, it's the sort of thing that, you can throw out there, but I said, take a look at the map, was my reaction. Where the hell are you going to put it? So the ferry terminal there at Roberts Bank crowds the American boundary. When the ships leave the terminal, they're immediately in American waters. So there's no room down there because of Point Roberts. And the northern end there, you got the mouth of the Fraser River, West Ham Island. That's probably not the greatest place in the world to be having oil tankers coming and going. In between, you've already got a huge project. You've got the coal port and the container port. And we just last week had an announcement that the federal government is going to step in and expedite approval of an expanded container port. They're going to build another artificial island right off the existing one. They're going to have berths for containers. They're going to increase the capacity of the container terminal by 50%. And we get into a news conference, and somebody says, and the question wasn't me, actually. CBC reporter says, how are you going to make that new oil terminal that you want to put here right on Roberts Bank work with the container port, which is going to take up a lot of space? And the Vancouver Fraser Port Authority guy said, we haven't worked that out yet, basically. He said, we're just starting. The federal government hasn't even told the Port Authority where it thinks it can put an oil terminal. And I'm going, well, given the kind of opposition we face in British Columbia to anything we want to do, that's going to be a big issue. And I sort of wonder when they're, first of all, going to tell us where they're going to put the terminal, and then second of all, when are they going to announce the environmental review on this, which I'm guessing will be major.
Do you think the federal government knows where they're going to put it yet?
No, I don't. I think they're kind of leaving it to Alberta to tell us, which is kind of interesting to have Alberta tell us where they want to put an oil terminal in British Columbia. But, it is a whole country. The coast belongs to the whole country, and the Prime Minister says that he's supportive of the idea of a new terminal. And the Prime Minister has said he thinks that, the southern Delta, well, they say Delta, but it's actually Roberts Bank, is the place to put it. So I guess at some point someone's going to draw us a map and tell us where. Somebody suggested to me that maybe what they'll do is they've already approved this expansion of the container terminal at Roberts Bank, so it's already there, and there's a rail line there, and there's a coal port there. Maybe they can find some way to shoehorn a couple of berths in there for super tankers. They also need a tank farm, 15 storage tanks to store the oil so that, when a super tanker shows up to load 1 million barrels, by the way, they'll have some oil in the tanks in order to do it. So, but we're waiting to find out. I looked at it and thought, this is going to be some battle. I mean, the environmental leaders in the province and the indigenous leaders, they were preparing for a fight over the northern location because they thought that's where we were headed. Well, that's not happening, but my guess is they're redoing their files and their protest signs and getting ready to protest the southern run. First Nations along there, Tawasin, Musqueam, both say they've not been consulted yet. They expect to be consulted. They expect to be involved. Again, we had 27 First Nations that were consulted on the container port, and the federal regulators approved the project with 370 conditions. That's to ship containers out of Roberts Bank. A container falls over the side or a container ship might spill some oil, but now we're talking about shipping 1 million barrels a day of Alberta oil they're not called very large crude carriers for a reason. They're super tankers. They're big. And, I got a feeling we're in for a very long battle over this, but we'll see.
From traffic logistics alone, I'm picturing this because we already have probably too many tankers and ships, and mostly cargo ships, parking, in the waters off Vancouver Island.
Yeah,
and now
you're,
and
we're going to increase the container traffic by 50%. You're right. The First Nations along the coast. There's, in fact, the First Nations leader on Valdez Island, which is right opposite Roberts Bank. She said, they got very involved in the container project, and the federal government went ahead and said they're going to approve the container expansion, even though there are some risks and there's 370 conditions. But she says, they're already getting, as you say, container ships are being tied up in the waters between the island and Valdez. And there'll be a lot more of that going on. And where are they going to put the super tankers? So, the federal government, the Prime Minister's put his authority behind this. He's promised $10 billion to upgrade the port on the West Coast to make all this possible. But I'm still going, I'd like to see a map, which, first of all, shows me where are they going to put the oil tankers.
The map needs to happen. I think we all agree on that. Thanks for joining us again this morning, Vaughn, and keep up the good work.
We'll be talking about this again, I predict.
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
will.
Okay, bye-bye.
Vaughn Palmer of the Vancouver Sun.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning. It's 8:32 here at CFAX 1070 on CTV Vancouver Island as well. Steve in for Ryan Price for one more week. It's going to be a hot, hazy day with some smoke in our skies. Time for CFAX 1070 News. Here's Lisa Best.
We've got some smoke filtering from the mainland, especially up from Washington State as well. You start to notice it in the air shortly within the next half hour or so. It'll be at its peak between 11 and 12, so something to watch for. Close to 1,000 fires burning across this country. Currently this morning, more than 200 of those are in Ontario, where the northern Ontario communities are preparing for further evacuations today. The BC Wildfire Update has 102 fires burning. That's double what we had Friday. 40 are considered out of control. 12 new starts in the last 24 hours, including one, a smaller one that's being held west of Campbell River. So Vancouver Island doing quite well so far. But the BC Wildfire Service says in the coming week, we're going to see a higher risk of fires sparked by lightning. And we should also be bracing, of course, for that poorer air quality.
An air quality warning says wildfire smoke is causing or expected to cause poor air quality and reduced visibility across multiple regions in the province on Monday and Tuesday. That includes the Fraser Canyon, the South Thompson, the northeastern corner of the province, with the alert area almost reaching Prince George. More than 100 wildfires continue to burn in the province, and the latest provincial situation report says dry and warm conditions will elevate the potential for new wildfire starts. Naira Ahmed, The Canadian Press.
Physicians warning that e-bike users should be taking safety precautions following a spate of collisions that have led to serious injuries in younger people using these transportation devices. Dr. Purva Grauer is with the Cleveland Clinic. She says many patients with e-bike injuries were wearing a bike helmet, which is the wrong helmet for these kinds of e-transportation.
The kids think sometimes that they can zoom around, go from sidewalk to road and just like having a bike, but because of how fast they can go, because of the enormous inertia and the trauma which can happen with it, they can be hit by other cars, which is something we see very commonly.
E-bike specific helmet is needed. She also urges parents to talk to kids about the rules of the road and to lower their chances of actually having a collision and to be safe out there. The U.S. launching its 9th straight night of attacks on Iran. Iran responding by attacking Kuwait and Bahrain, which is home to the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet. As of Sunday, Iranian authorities say at least 50 people were killed, over 500 wounded in the latest round of U.S. airstrikes. Since the U.S. and Israel began the war with Iran back in February, 17 American military members have been killed, including one on Saturday who died in Iraq. How much coffee is a good amount of coffee? A new study out linking coffee to your heart.
Researchers say for most healthy adults, up to 400 milligrams of caffeine a day, that's about 3 to 5 8-ounce cups of black coffee, is generally considered safe.
Well, we'll take it. And researchers in Alberta have identified a partial dinosaur skull impression found in BC 9 years ago as belonging to a cousin of the T-Rex. The new study says the Tyrannosaurus skull found in Tubler Ridge in 2017 belongs to the Gorgosaurus liberus. Lead researcher Colton Kopchuk says they were able to create a cast that includes the juvenile dinosaur's upper jaw and teeth, giving new insight in how the younger dinosaurs took down prey.
And what we think is going on is that since these animals don't have large, really muscular jaws early on in life, we think they were using these incisoriform teeth to precisely cut up flesh rather than just going on with brute force and taking huge chunks out with their sort of blade-like teeth.
Not a kitten. Researchers also learned that the Gorgosaurus roamed much further across Western Canada than previously thought, covering an area of nearly 200,000 square kilometers. That's your news to 8:36. Our CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning, we're asking, have you ever had a close encounter with a wild animal? 68% say yes. Some people texting in, they've run into bears. Not literally, but close enough. You can vote at CFAX1070.com, also on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best. Your news time is 8:37.
Thank you, Lisa. Weather forecast for Greater Victoria. Mix of sun and cloud today. Hazy late this afternoon, a high near 25, 18 where the winds blow onshore. Humidex going to make it feel like 30, and the UV index is up there as well. Partly cloudy and hazy this evening with a low near 14. Mainly sunny tomorrow. Hazy in the morning and early in the afternoon with a high near 25. Sunny on Wednesday with a high near 25. Right now it's 16. And here's our final World Cup report.
This is your TSN Radio FIFA World Cup 2026 update.
I'm John Rodenberg. In the World Cup final, Spain dominated but needed a goal in overtime to finally vanquish Lionel Messi and Argentina 1-0. Ferran Torres, a second-half substitute, provided the heroics in the 106th minute. It came with Argentina down a man after Enzo Gonzalez was banished from the game after receiving a second yellow in the 94th minute. Spain outshot Argentina 20-2 and had all 12 shots that ended on net in winning its second World Cup in its history. Spain allowing just one goal in the 8 games it played in the tournament. Kylian Mbappe of France won the Golden Boot Award with 10 goals.
Rodenberg bringing you up to date on all that. Former Canadian Open champ and New Zealander Ryan Fox made a birdie on the last hole, winning the British Open at Royal Birkdale. Blue Jays struggles continue. They were blanked 3-0 by the White Sox. Mariners doubled San Francisco 6-3 yesterday. And the CFL, Winnipeg comes from behind up in Ottawa 36-34 in overtime. Checking traffic. I think it was just somebody off to the side of the road on the northbound Trans-Canada by Goldstream there because it's already cleared up. Traffic looks good. A little slow on Souk Road as you get close to Veterans Memorial Parkway in the Langford area as you come in from Souk. I must admit, the commutes from Souk into town in the last week that I've been doing this have been pretty non-eventful. I might have jinxed it. I probably should just leave it at that. At the ferry terminal, the next available sailing's at 9 o'clock, 13% available deck space there. The first delay at the airport is the flight to Ottawa on Porter 448, scheduled for 11:55, going to run about 10 minutes late. The Air Canada flight to Toronto, AC 1900, scheduled for 12:05, now going at 1:15. And Porter 442 to Toronto, scheduled for 12:25, now going at 12:40. On the markets, TSX is down 49 points at 35,214. Dow Jones off 96 at 52,049. NASDAQ up 157 at 25,678. And the Canadian dollar down 21 basis points at 71.1 cents U.S.
Let's get started. Start your day informed and entertained. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
One of the great music debates, Lisa, is who's better, the Beatles or the Stones?
Oh, boy.
You know what? Well, here's a little
How
snip.
do we compare apples and oranges?
Well, I was going to do that for you. Okay. Here, first of all, here's a clip of the Stones' latest offering. The Rolling Stones have tied a record with the Beatles on the British charts. The classic rockers this week released their new album, Foreign Tongues, and it jumped to the top of the UK official albums charts. It's the Stones' 15th number one album on the chart, tying the record held by the Beatles. Both are behind British pop star Robbie Williams, who actually has 16 number one albums in the UK.
Robbie Williams does?
Yes.
Okay. He was famous across the pond, but he wasn't that famous.
I was going to say.
That's big.
So, anyway, just more fuel to who's better.
Well,
everybody's tied.
Art
We're
is
going to have to
subjective.
go to overtime. Extra time.
Only one can win. What's your favorite?
I'm a Beatles guy.
And the thing is, I'm not partial to either one.
Agreed.
But I'm with you that I think the Beatles, with everything they did, was groundbreaking. The Stones are great, but they mimic the blues, the Delta blues. That was their whole purpose of it. You know, they helped bury Willie Dixon. So groundbreaking, maybe. They've certainly stuck around longer. And they stayed together the whole time.
Mick was at the soccer match yesterday.
That's a marriage.
Mick's hanging in there.
They definitely finish each other's sentences.
It's a great debate because they're both classics.
Of course.
And, but my favorite Beatles, there's two Beatles things that stand out. The entire soundtrack to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Okay.
I loved that.
All right.
And a song they released later on called Got to Get You Into My Life, which is a great song.
It is.
And the other one is my first 45 that my dad bought me.
Okay.
She Loves You by the Beatles.
Oh, wow.
Because I started singing it all the time in the back seat when it would come on the radio. So he thought he should go and buy that for me.
So you had the little record player and the 45 with the divot in the middle.
That's it.
Good memories.
So anyway, there's no wrong answer because both the Stones and the Beatles have been wonderful to listen to. And we're very lucky to have a very different approach still be that good all these years later. 8:45, here's Lisa with your news headlines.
Thank you, Stephen. Good morning. The BC Wildfire Service says there is a higher risk of fires being sparked by lightning this week here in Vancouver Island. We certainly don't need any more. We have one small fire burning considered under control. That is west of mid-island communities around Qualicum Beach, that area. The warning from BC Wildfire Service comes after wildfire officials downgraded a fire near Pemberton and lifted evacuation alerts. Latest update says the service has widespread thunder activities forecast, raising the risk of more strikes and more fires. We doubled the amount of fires we had since Friday. We had 51 on Friday burning in the province. Now it's up to 102. Prime Minister Mark Carney says this is the most intense fire season in Canadian history. Carney attributes it to the heat waves and dry conditions. Carney says more than 5,000 firefighters, nearly 300 water bombers, and aircraft are battling blazes right across his country. There's nearly 1,000 fires burning coast to coast. And, of course, according to firesmoke.ca, we're also seeing fire smoke filter into our area now. You'll notice it quite a little bit more prominent around the 11 noon hour today if you're outside breathing the air. Andy Burnham, the former mayor of Greater Manchester and the new leader of the Labour Party, took the final steps today to succeed Keir Starmer to become Britain's seventh prime minister in a decade. The affable man returned to Parliament in June by winning a special but risky special election. Was sworn in as a member on July 12th. The 56-year-old has arrived at the palace earlier today, accepting the invitation by King Charles to form government. And Canadian social media platforms are putting patriotism first in a fight against U.S. tech powerhouses. Social network called A and competitor Gander both have a mission to give out locals a more patriotic alternative to household names like TikTok. Instagram, and Facebook. The rookie sites are under no illusion that they'll take over their more established rivals, but doesn't mean that Canadian platforms aren't viable, worth building and nurturing. Most social networks Canadians use are U.S. owned and run on American infrastructure. That is your news to 847.
Coming up to 8:49 here at CFAX 1070 and CTV Vancouver Island. Checking the highways and byways right now. I see no delays at all on the Trans-Canada Victoria bound or the Trans-Canada Nanaimo bound, for that matter, around Greater Victoria. This morning, a little slow around Topaz Park and the Mayfair Shopping Centre district, Finlayson in that area. It's a little bit busy, but no major delays. A little busy on Souk Road as you approach Veterans Memorial Parkway, but for the most part, things in good shape again this morning.
It's all here. News, weather, traffic, and community events. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
And it's coming up to 8:50 now. A familiar name in BC politics has entered the ring as the new leader of Centre BC. Mike Bernier was announced over the weekend before the Conservatives rose to the province's main Conservative party. He served as a BC Liberal Minister for Education and opposition critic for the Housing and Finance Files, and he's joining us now to speak on his new role announced over the weekend. Good morning, Mike. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Well, you were in Victoria on the weekend. It was pretty nice down there, kind of busy, eh?
It was a beautiful weekend down in Victoria, busy, and really want to thank all the people who showed up and came out to support the announcement we made for Centre BC. It was an exciting new chapter for us.
So maybe for those that have never heard of Centre BC, because I think there's a part of them that haven't. Why is this party coming forward, and what are you offering?
Well, there's obviously a huge need, I would even say demand, right now in the province of British Columbia for a more common sense approach to politics, with what we're seeing with the divisive style, almost fear tactic politics that we're seeing in the province right now, that's become, and I hate saying it, a little bit more extreme. We have one party going further to the right, one party going further to the left, and that's left a massive gap where people are saying they feel politically abandoned. They don't know who to vote for, who to support, and they feel that government's really lost touch with the average person in the province. So Centre BC is really about filling that gap and making sure that we bring politics back to the people and put them at the center of the attention now.
So why did you decide you wanted to be leader?
Well, that's a great question, because if you had asked me about 18 months ago, I thought retirement, spending time with my wife and my grandchildren sounded like a great next chapter in my life. But it was tough to sit back and watch the province that I love, and so many people that I've talked to who are just frustrated with the political dynamics that we're seeing in the province right now. And so when I was approached and asked if, was I willing to step up and lend my support and help for a party to try to bring back something to offer the people of British Columbia, it was something that my family and I said, you can't just sit back. You have to put your money where your mouth is, so to speak, and get out, volunteer, and start trying to make a difference again.
So it was interesting on the weekend because you got attacked, as you pointed out, from both sides. So the NDP said, he's a former Liberal, he's the same old. And then the Conservatives say, well, now that he's there, he's going to take votes from us, and he's going to make the NDP government happen once again. I guess you can't win.
Welcome to politics, but I actually take that as a bit of a badge of honor, because if I'm getting attacked from all sides, that means that they're nervous, and they should be, because they've, in a lot of ways, aren't representing the province and the people that live in it anymore. And it also shows, I think, the importance of this party, because we want to be that big tent. Whether you're center left, center right, I think we have a lot more in common than these parties are willing to acknowledge the people in BC have. I mean, yes, we're diverse, but there's a lot of frustrated people. I mean, we heard that after the last election, where people said, I'm lost. I feel politically orphaned. There's no party that represents me anymore. And so we're going to be that alternative and that voice for them going into the next election.
So how do you get a foothold without a member in the legislature?
Well, not only are we working on that, but I mean, you look at that will take a little bit of work, but I can tell you that in the last 24, 48 hours since I've become the leader, my phone has been ringing off the hook with former and present Conservatives, as well as members of the NDP, who are calling me confidentially saying that, can we sit down and talk and chat, because I'm frustrated as well. We have been seeing our membership over the last 2 days is just growing incredibly fast, and many of them are actually saying they belong to other parties. They're canceling their membership and joining ours because they don't feel represented anymore. I know this will take a lot of work. It'll take a little bit of time, but I think we're on the right path, and we're seeing that already.
Is Canada still a centrist nation?
I would argue it is. I think if you actually sit around and talk to majority of people who want to actually just enjoy their lives, enjoy the beautiful province of British Columbia, or Canada for that matter, I think people are tired of the kind of extreme views that maybe the loud minority get out and spread. But, a lot of people just want to live their lives, just want government to make good decisions. And I'd say that lands most people into a centrist kind of category. They just want strong fiscal responsibility. And, I would argue most people have a good socially progressive conscience as well, and want to just see people live a good life in Canada and BC.
How do you put together a policy platform?
Well, I think the big part of it is, we've started with the executive. Again, I've been on the job just a couple of days, and that was one of the first things I said was, we're not just going to come up with flashy kind of slogans like the other parties have done. This is going to be a grassroots movement that needs to take place. We don't have a lot of time. I recognize that, but we need to get out around the province and make sure that the decisions and the policies we put forward represent the people that are asking for them. I think there's a couple of things that we can do, which is really getting out in those church basements again, getting out into the community town halls and the coffee shops. People feel like they're not being listened to; they're being talked down to by the present governments.
It's a big job. What did your loved ones say when you decided, yes, I'm going to hit the gas pedal again?
Well, I have the fortunate privilege of having 5 children that are spread right around the province in different political zones, if we can put it that way. And we had a nice little talk after the announcement, because I kind of surprised them to see how it would go as well. But my wife and I had that great conversation, because you have to have your family on board, because it's a tough road and a lot of work and the criticism that comes with it. And after 20 years of politics, My wife at first, I'll say, was excited that I was out, but then she equally said, you need to get back in. You need to try to fix this the best you can with this party because it's the right path for the province.
Okay, well, all of our listeners and viewers are on Vancouver Island. Will you have special policies in place for the island?
I think we have to look at things like that. And I remember doing that in previous governments, that we were trying to resolve some of those issues. And the reason being is the province is a diverse place. We all have some maybe goals and values that are similar, but there's different economic challenges. I look at the forestry crisis on Vancouver Island right now, the amount of people who are losing their jobs, and we need to work on that economic profile for Vancouver Island. We look at some of the challenges around the transportation systems. So there are unique issues that Vancouver Island faces that have to be addressed. And I think one of the things I would love to see, haven't talked to my team about this yet, or around the province, but I think we need to be having more regional public forums around the province when legislation is coming forward before it can be passed, because I've seen that where Victoria thinks it's a good idea, they pass the idea, and then realize after the fact that they should have done more consultation with the people it actually affects. And Vancouver Island is especially one of those. Just because the capital's right there doesn't mean they're making good decisions for you.
I've enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for joining us, and best of luck in the new role.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on. Have a great day.
That's Mike Bernier, the new leader of Centre BC.
CFAX Victoria,
An iHeartRadio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Best with your CFAX 1070 news to 9 o'clock. A facelift for certain buildings in Victoria may be on the agenda this week. CFAX 1070's Koch Cotton has the story.
Vacant and derelict buildings are not only an eyesore for Victoria residents, but may be an investment opportunity. That's according to a motion scheduled for City Council later this week. These forgotten buildings could also become safety hazards and are subject to structural collapse. Councillors Matt Dell and Dave Thompson argue in their motion. However, Victoria's current regulatory framework may be insufficient to incentivise timely redevelopment. Both councillors are recommending that the City conduct a review of its existing bylaw and enforcement tools related to neglected properties, including an assessment of gaps in jurisdiction, staffing capacity and enforcement timelines. Koch Cadden, CFAX 1070 News.
There's 103 wildfires currently active in BC, 13 new starts in the past 24 hours. 40% of the fires are out of control. We do have a small fire mid-island here on Vancouver Island. It is considered being held. That's good news. That's well under a hectare in size. But of course, the threat continues. The BC Wildfire Services in the coming week, you may see a higher risk of fires sparked by lightning. And of course, we also have smoke being filtered now into our air coming from the mainland and also coming up across the border from Washington State from wildfires burning in both areas. These could be causing some poorer air quality, especially around the noon hour, and reduced visibility too. It's more so on the mainland, but we see it here coming in, filtering into Vancouver Island over the next 24 to 48 hours. Meantime, the situation in northern Ontario and Canada remains the same. Nearly 200 fires burning in that province and close to 1,000 across the country. The U.S. president weighing in on this, adding fuel to the fire of Canada's situation. Donald Trump asked about his conversation with Mark Carney on the subject.
I told him, you got to stop these fires from coming in and, poisoning our air. Our air's been poisoned. I have a good relationship with Mark Carney, but, we got to stop the fires up there. If we can help them, we'll help them. But maybe they should pay us some damages or something, or we should do some tariffs.
We're also learning this hour that the entire city of Kimberley in the southeast area of BC near the Alberta boundary has been placed on an evacuation alert now due to an out-of-control wildfire in that region. And 2 Canadian startups launching a new social media platform with a very patriotic twist.
The founders of A and Gander were inspired to create alternatives to American social media platforms by U.S. President Donald Trump's threats to make Canada the 51st state. A and Gander both let people post musings, news links, photos, and short videos. They each have about 30,000 users, though they don't expect to overtake incumbent platforms like TikTok or Instagram. Toronto Metropolitan University professor Richard Latchman says the startups face an uphill battle against established platforms, which are well-funded and have bigger audiences than Canada's small market. Michelle Zedikian, The Canadian Press.
Well, speaking of markets, to start the trading week, the TSX is currently off 102 points at 35,161. The Dow is off 119 at 52,028, and our Canadian dollar holding at 71.10 cents U.S. Your CFAX weather forecast, a mix of sun and cloud today and hazy with some smoke coming in. High 25 is going to feel like 30. Hazy this evening. Winds west 30 along the Juan de Fuca Strait, low 14. High 25 tomorrow, hazy, otherwise sunny, breezy, and it's going to feel more like 29 Wednesday. Sunshine 25. Right now it's 14 in Souk, 15 in Port Alberni, 16 at the Inner Harbor.
Hey, it's Adam Sterling. I'm live at 11 a.m., diving into the issues that matter most here in the Capital Region. Right after Vashi Capello's Don't Miss It on CFAX 1070 and the all-new iHeart Radio app.
This is the Vashi Capellos Show on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Hello, everyone. Tim Powers sitting in for Vashi today, Monday, July 20th. Great to be with you. The World Cup is over, but the wildfires still burn, and they're generating all kinds of havoc and news. Let's get started with the rundown.
The Rundown.
And we're going to start with a conversation I had earlier today with Scott Hurst, CTV National News correspondent. Scott is covering the wildfires, bringing us all the latest. Here's that conversation. Joining us now, Scott Hurst, CTV National reporter. Scott, the Prime Minister gave a briefing yesterday on the fires. He said it involved 5,000 firefighters, 300 water bombers. Other sources say 1,000 fires are burning, nearly 70,000 hectares. That's a lot of space. What's the latest today?
What we're hearing today is that at least in Ontario, the fires continue to spread. You mentioned the numbers from the national scale, some 5,000 firefighters and hundreds of water bombers, helicopters, and evacuation aircraft to help control and contain and mitigate these fires. But with nearly 1,000 fires burning across the country, as you might expect, resources are being stretched thin. A short time ago, we did get an update from Ontario Premier Doug Ford and the Minister of Emergency Preparedness on the current firefight in Ontario. Most of the fires are in the northwestern part of the province, but as many people have seen and been dealing with for several days now, the billowing smoke has been a concern that's been impacting millions more people. But of course, the main concern, first and foremost, are for the lives and infrastructure in northwestern Ontario. So what we just heard from the Prime Minister a short time ago is that the fires are expanding to cover some 650,000 hectares to more than 735,000 hectares, with 190 currently in Ontario, 56 classified as out of control. And in terms of the firefight in Ontario, according to the Premier, there are about 155 fire crews and 80 water bombers and helicopters, with 40 additional, he says, support aircraft ready to assist. And with all the fire activity, it's led to 13 communities either evacuated already or currently evacuating, and some have to go as far away as evacuees coming here to Toronto, even Niagara Falls as well. And according to the numbers from the Premier, more than 1,800 people have been evacuated from their communities. And we do know that there has been devastation in at least one more Northwestern Ontario First Nation, the Whitewater Lake First Nation, which is approximately 250 kilometers north of Thunder Bay. They're reporting much of the community has been destroyed. The chief, in a statement over the weekend, saying homes, personal belongings, and other vital community infrastructure has been lost from the fast-moving flames. And many of these communities in northwestern Ontario, threatened by the raging wildfires, they're not accessible by road, which, as you might expect, makes it difficult for people to get out and much more complex for crews to get in as well. So still quite a significant firefight on their hands, not just in Ontario, but in many other parts of the country.
Scott, got about a minute here. Do we know anything on the cost of damages? Appreciating that the first priority is fighting fires, but as you tell me and as we hear more about all of these fires and communities being burned, I have to imagine we're going to get into the billions upon billions of dollars.
You might expect it's got to be astronomical. I would suspect at this point it is way too early to kind of tabulate the overall cost of these damages. But yeah, these numbers over the past couple of years is any example or has set any bar. The cost and the damages from this just continues to rise with so many communities that are being threatened by these fires. As you know, we can point over the last couple of years, climate scientists point to rising global temperatures driving an increase in frequency and intensity of wildfires, not just here in Canada, but around the world. So it is definitely a growing concern for many communities right across the country.
Scott, appreciate the time and the update. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
This wildfire story has taken on a political angle over the weekend. Trump's latest tariff threat: stop the smoke or pay up. Yes, indeed. That's what he's saying. The president posted on social media Friday saying that wildfire smoke impacting U.S. cities is because of willful negligence on Canada's part. And the cost of this pollution must be, of necessity, be added to the tariffs Canada is currently paying. Trump also told reporters that he spoke with Prime Minister Mark Carney about the smoke at the FIFA World Cup final yesterday.
Well, it went good, but I told him, you got to stop these fires from coming in and, poisoning our air. Our air's been poisoned. Have a good relationship with Mark Carney, but, we got to stop the fires up there. If we can help them, we'll help them. But maybe they should pay us some damages or something, or we should do some tariffs. But it was terrible. You had businesses closing.
Unsurprisingly, Prime Minister Carney hasn't responded to Trump's threat about the smoke yet. I'm sure he's off launching giant balloons to blow the smoke away. No, that is me joking. But Ontario Premier Doug Ford did at a press conference earlier today.
You got to remind President Trump that there's 3.9 million acres burning in the United States right now. And if we had resources, we would send them down to our closest friends and allies. So, you know something, rather than criticize and threaten Canada, your closest friends, maybe one day you're going to need our help like you did last year, and we deployed the people. I get frustrated just listening to that bunch of